St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church. If everyone would please silence your cell phone, and if you so choose, please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Almighty God, as we gather for this city council meeting, we ask your blessing on our new city manager. Grant him wisdom, strength, and compassion as he begins this important work of leadership and service. We also ask you to guide our hearts and minds to work together in wisdom, humility, and grace. Help us to think creatively, serve selflessly, and seek the good of all our neighbors. Renew our vision, our unity, and our commitment to justice, compassion, and peace in our city. May our decisions reflect care for others and hope for the future, we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. With liberty and justice. May I have roll call, please?
Mayor West.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Turner. Here. Councilmember Durio.
Here.
Councilmember Hilliard. Here. Councilmember Williams. Here. Councilmember Sherwood. And Councilmember Crenshaw.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, we have three presentations today, and the first one will be, excuse me, I'm good. The fiscal year 2025 annual.
We're going to do communications first, Mayor.
Oh, we're going to do? All right.
Yes, please.
So I can get my voice, communications.
Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Cinco de Mayo. We still need volunteers to join the Mayor's Coalition Against Violence. The goal is to bring our community together to support at-risk youth and help prevent youth violence. The next coalition meeting is Tuesday, May 12th at 5:30 p.m. at the Lakeside Center Auditorium. We hope everyone will turn out and be a part of the solution. You're invited to join us for the 75th Annual National Day of Prayer on Thursday, May 7th from noon to 1 p.m. It will take place inside City Council chambers and will be led by Pastor Donnie Flippo of Gospel Center Church. Several of our community faith leaders will offer prayer throughout the hour, and all are welcome to attend as we come together in reflection and unity. It's time to beat the heat for the summer at one of the two public pools in the city. Both Alice Keith Park Pool and Magnolia Park Pool will be open starting June 1st, Memorial Day weekend, and will remain open through Labor Day weekend, September 8th. Great news for Beaumont students. You can once again ride the city's ZIP transit system for free this summer. From May 28th through August 12th, students can hop on one of our city buses and stay connected to summer programs, jobs, and activities while school is out. High school students must show a valid ID, and younger riders should be accompanied by a parent or guardian. We're proud to support our youth with safe, reliable transportation all summer long. Looking for a summer job? The city is currently hiring pool managers, lifeguards, summer camp supervisors, summer kennel attendants, golf course aides, and summer recreation aides. Pay ranges from $11 to $18 an hour, and it's a great way to gain some valuable experience and build your resume. If you're interested, apply today at cityofbeaumontjobs.com. It's National Travel and Tourism Week, and Beaumont has a few fun ways for you to get involved. Starting today, we're encouraging everyone to eat BMT by supporting our local restaurants, and it's perfect timing with today being Cinco de Mayo. There's a full list of fun activities all week long. Just check out visitbeaumont.com. Movies in the Park are returning in June. These free outdoor showings take place at parks all across the city. This year's series kicks off June 5th at Wuthering Heights Park with the Smurfs. Movies will continue throughout the summer at different city parks. And as we head into the weekend, we also want to recognize that Mother's Day is this Sunday, May 10th. We'd like to give a special thank you to all the mothers who serve the city of Beaumont and those across our community for everything you do to care for and raise the next generation. And of course, don't forget to celebrate your mom this weekend. And that concludes this week's announcements.
Thank you. Now we'll have the fiscal year 2025 annual comprehensive financial report by Patillo, Brown, and Hill. Welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Chris Pruitt. I'm an audit partner for Patillo, Brown & Hill, and we have completed your audit For the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2025, I'd like to thank the council for giving us the opportunity to serve as your auditors this year. I'd also like to thank the Finance Department for all of the help that they provided during the course of the audit. Should have two documents, the actual financial report and a letter from us. The actual report was gone over last week in great detail with your Finance Committee, much greater detail than I'm going to go into today. I will say that your financial report is divided into three separate categories: an introductory section, a financial section, and a statistical section. Within that introductory section on page Roman numeral 9, you will find a copy of an award given out by the Government Finance Officers Association. It's a certificate for excellence in financial reporting. Last year was the 38th year in a row that the city received this award. This is a copy of last year's award. And we feel that the report this year meets the criteria to receive that award again this year. So you should be receiving another award in October or September, hopefully. The audit opinion letter is on page 1. That letter states that the financial statements are the responsibility of the management of the city. Our responsibility as your auditor is to express an opinion on the financials. You receive what we call an unmodified opinion. It's also referred to as a clean opinion. And what that means is that in our professional opinion, your financial statements are free of material misstatement and that they can be relied on by a third party. So it's the highest opinion that we can give. Additionally, the letter to you, there are certain things that I have to convey to you as your auditor. I've just chosen to put them into a written format rather than verbally going over it all, but within the letter, you will find our responsibility in relation to the audit, ethic requirements. There is something on page 2 I'd like to point out. It says significant risk considered. There are certain things that we have to consider prior to the audit as we take a risk-based approach to the audit. These are items that we considered prior to the audit and were not items that came up during the audit. So we looked at your management override of controls and your debt issuances because those transactions can be sometimes complicated. So again, I just wanted to verify, and point that out to you that this was not something that came up during the audit. Rather, it was something that we considered when making our risk assessment plan. It's a big document. It's a lot of information here. And I guess at this time, I'd like to field any questions that you might have over either document or the audit process itself.
Anybody have any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, and now we have a presentation by Mr. Mike Harris on our wastewater treatment facility master plan. He is the City of Beaumont Director of Water and Sewer Operations. And you have a guest, a couple of guests. Yes.
Good afternoon, Council, Mayor, City Manager Boone. Today we have John D'Antoni and with Black & Veatch and Jeff Beaver with SPI. They will be presenting our wastewater treatment plant master plan. This plan serves as a roadmap for maintaining and improving our wastewater treatment plant to meet current demands and also preparing for the future. Our last comprehensive master plan was completed in 2016, and since then, system conditions, regulatory requirements, and capacity needs have continued to evolve. This update reflects those changes and outlines the strategic path forward to ensure reliability, compliance, and long-term sustainability for our system. Many of the recommendations that you see are recommended projects that you'll see today are also incorporated in our community investment program, which help align planning with funding and implementation priorities. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to John D'Antoni with Black & Veatch.
Well, Mayor and members of council, it's certainly an honor to be here today to present the results of our master plan, which we basically completed in 2025, delivered the final deliverables in 2026. To start, I want you to understand the valued asset that you have in your wastewater treatment plant and the outstanding job that this current engineering and operations staff do in maintaining and sustaining that asset. In the upper left is the main plant itself. It was actually built originally in 1952 and is a 31.9 million gallon per day permitted plant. Because of regulatory requirements, or more stringent regulatory requirements, the Cattail Marsh wetlands were constructed in 1993 to address ammonia removal. Now, the plant today, and that's the Cattail Marsh is shown in the lower right with the education boardwalk out into the marsh. This has become a popular destination for both citizens and tourists for the city of Beaumont. Plant today is running about 16 to 20 million gallons per day. So you have plenty of capacity, and I think the projections that we did, looking at both high growth projections and low growth projections, says the plant will serve you for a number of years to come. We got together with staff as we were starting the master plan and identified a number of key objectives or key success criteria for the master plan. One was future regulatory compliance, understanding what future regulations could do to the facility, and then also understanding other impacts of pending regulations that we'll discuss. An ammonia solution. You're going to hear more about ammonia in a little bit later in the talk. Ammonia is a big deal. It's a regulatory problem, one of concern, and so we need to, it was a key issue to address. Plant is approaching 75 years old, so a lot of aging infrastructure and maintenance. Maintaining good operations and maintenance of facility is really important. So we need to address replacing aging infrastructure as they reach the end of their useful life. Cattail Marsh, future. The Cattail Marsh operating a natural systems 558 acre wetlands is a challenge, and it's been a continued challenge for the staff over the years. And so part of the master plan was to look at what is the true future of the Cattail Marsh. And then obviously, as Mike talked about, giving you a prioritized list of projects for capital improvements for the city to consider as they go forward. Now, a large part of the project was looking at the existing facility, existing condition of those assets at the treatment plant and in the wetlands. And that's something Schomburg and Polk really led for the team. And so I'm going to turn it over to our partner, Schomburg and Polk, Jeff Beavers, to talk about that part.
Thank you, John. Yes, as John said, we looked at the existing assets and determined the condition and the needs for those assets. As part of that assessment, we met with the city's operating staff out there and got valuable information from them on the history of the maintenance that has been going on out there. We combined that with a visual inspection of all 14 areas of the plant. And when we say 14 areas, you have the influent lift station that includes mechanical screens and pumps. You have the clarifiers and trickling filters. All of those two assets were originally constructed in the 50s. You have the 2 aeration ponds. There's 3. 2 of them were constructed in the 70s. The third one was added in the 2000s. And then the chlorine disinfection, high flow and transfer lift stations. The result of those inspections and assessment was to identify potential improvement projects. We were able to identify 7 potential improvement projects that I believe the city is in the process of scheduling for your community improvement plan. Those included replacing old valves on each of the pumps and modifying the existing drain system at the influent lift station, repairing the levee between Pond 1 and Pond 2 aeration ponds where there's some erosion before it actually becomes a problem. Being proactive is the goal. The grit removal systems were put in the 80s. They've reached pretty much their life and need to be replaced with either current state-of-the-art type grit removal systems or similar systems. We also have miscellaneous pump improvements that need to be looked at, rehabilitation of the pumps at the high flow lift station and the transfer lift station. The high flow lift station handles the excess stormwater when we have the rains that we have here. And so it's critical to prevent water from backing up in the system. The transfer lift station is what actually moves the water from the main treatment plant down to Cattail Marsh. Obviously, both of those are critical elements. We also looked at rehabilitating the existing on-site transformers throughout the plant. They're operable and working, but they are beginning to show some deterioration. So again, that's a proactive project to make sure we don't have a failure on any of those units. We also identified some miscellaneous improvements. The coating system in the primary clarifier number 2 needs to be addressed. The sludge digester walls and the chlorine disinfection basin walls have cracking and some other signs of age that would need to be looked at, and just, again, proactive improvements to those. And then the transfer canal between the main plant and Cattail Marsh, there's sediment that is settled out in there that just needs to be moved out. Of course, all of these projects are needed. They're not something that has to happen immediately, but it is time to plan those and have a plan, proactive plan to take care of that. And how do I move to the next slide, John? There we go. As far as the assessment of Cattail Marsh, the wetlands, we employed an aerial drone survey of Cattail Marsh that allowed us to go in and actually identify in each cell those areas that have emergent wetland vegetation, which is the what we're looking for, what we need to have to provide the treatment. Also identified open water areas, areas where trees have grown in, and then areas that have become covered in the invasive water hyacinth. By doing that, we were able to put together a plan for going in and correcting each of those cells. What was proposed is probably doing 2 cells a year, either annually or every other year, until you take care of those and get those all back into service. That's needed if Cattail Marshes continue to use for ammonia removal as the final phase of the treatment process. As John said, it was originally constructed in 1993. There were major improvements made in around 2007, 2009 out there. And then it's been since then that nothing has really been done to do that. And so that maintenance and that improvement is something that needs to be looked at. There's also an outfall lift station that pumps the water, the final treated water across Willow Marsh Bayou to a natural wetland area. Maintaining those pumps is also another area that needs to be looked at proactively. And again, as I said, these recommendations out at Cattail Marsh can be scheduled on either an annual or a biannual basis to stay in front of those issues. This time I'll turn it back over to John.
Thank you, Jeff. So I said we're going to talk a little bit about ammonia. And so why are we talking about ammonia? Is NH3, it's a common constituent in domestic wastewater. It's also toxic to aquatic life. So the regulators, environmentalists are very concerned about elevated levels of ammonia. Now what you see in this graph right here is your current limit. In your current permit, the limit is 7 milligrams per liter. And of course, we looked at data from the end of 24 in our analysis, and you can see, from the summer months, which is the most critical period, you would have been below the 7 milligram per liter on a daily average basis for the month. Getting a little close, maybe at times, but in compliance. However, you have a pending future limit in the current permit that during that same time period lowers the discharge of ammonia to 3 milligrams per liter. And again, as you can see, you would have been out of compliance every month during that period. Those limits are not enforced today, but they're in the permit, so they are pending, they're hanging over you. So Why we, what is the deal with ammonia? Well, first of all, the trickling filters that the plants were based on, the main plant, really don't do a good job of ammonia. Back in 1952, people didn't care about it as much. It's been a more recent constituent of concern. So there is going to be a regulatory compliance challenge if the future phase permits are put in place. The wetlands can only do so much. They were installed to address ammonia, but they're currently overloaded and they can't handle the ammonia load coming from the plant to meet these strict limits. As we said, wetlands also present an operations challenge. So we really needed a practical ammonia solution. And that was really the focus of our process team, to look at what can be done at the plant to practically remove ammonia. And so we looked at 6 different alternatives. They're shown here on the screen. Conversion to activated sludge, which is another treatment process with suspended microbes to remove the waste. Enlarging or deepening the trickling filters. That would have presented a big challenge, though, working with those existing structures. There's another couple of technologies. I call these the acronym technologies, the MABR, which is a membrane attached biofilm, which is a membrane that has a biofilm attached to it that you provide air to. The biofilm removes the ammonia. And then MBBR, which is a moving bed bioreactor. You can see the little plastic element that gets put into the wastewater. Microbes grow and attach to that, and then that does the removal. We also looked at 2 sort of newer technologies, attached algal growth, attached growth algal system. This is a fairly new technology. Again, algae grows on basically on belts and removes the ammonia, and then also a submerged attached growth reactor, which is something we would build in one of the existing ponds. Both of these technologies are a little newer and maybe not as proven as the others. So we did an alternative evaluation, submitted a report, and we all got together, our consultant team and city staff, and in an alternative evaluation meeting. It's a great collaborative meeting where we discussed pros and cons of each one of the alternatives, and the team decided that the best alternative to solve the ammonia problem was the MBBR. And we picked that one, and again, this represents a major investment at the plant, obviously. It's right now it's a $20 to $25 million cost, and that really only gets you through, that's a 24 MGD MBBR. We based the evaluations on the planning year, which was 2040. But it really has it doesn't look like it, but it's one of the lower capital and operating cost alternatives. It's reliable, a very reliable technology, proven again, and it's really easy to operate and maintain and very reliable. So I think this was the one that we felt was the best alternative, and the staff felt was the best alternative going forward. If you look at the picture to the right, you can see that's what a typical MBBR unit would look like. It's an aerated basins with diffused air at the bottom, and you can, in a little cutout picture, you can see the little plastic pieces, elements floating in the wastewater, and that's where the biomass grows, and they do the job. So we also identified, as Jeff went over, 13 other projects, and this really represented the recommendations of the master plan. This totaled about 15.7 million over, that could be spread out over a 5-year or more period, as Jeff indicated. And these projects ranged in size from $23,000 up to $2.8 million for some of the larger wetland projects. Finally, the master plan concluded with a future vision. Here are things for the staff and operating and engineering staff to be thinking about as they move down the road, maintaining plant capacity, and there is a TCEQ permit renewal that will take place. We need to start working on it in the spring of '28. So it's coming up. Ongoing conversations with TCEQ about ammonia and about the future of cattail marsh. Do you want to shift the discharge point from Cattail Marsh back to the plant discharge. That's a possibility. And then there are other future ideas that we put into the report to looking at more long-term planning in terms of asset management, improve resilience, and improve sustainability at the plant. So with that, we'll turn it over to questions.
Yeah. Councilman Williams?
Is there a chance that the ammonia requirements could change between now and then? Are they kind of set in stone? Is it a political deal or it changes every year or?
Anything's possible, but these are pretty standard discharge limits for wastewater treatment facilities for ammonia. We've been negotiating, the city's been negotiating with TCEQ over the years. It's been a number of years. I was involved with this 15 years ago, and it's been a number of years that you've been trying to work out a deal on ammonia. I think the fact that these are in as pending limits in your current permit, as future limits, I think they're here to stay. I would wholeheartedly recommend that you have that dialogue and open those discussions to see if something could be done to negotiate improved limits that make it easier on you.
And what happens if a city fails to reach that standard?
You become in violation of your permit. You get a slap on the wrist the first couple of times. Then they start imposing fines and penalties. And ultimately, if you consistently miss those permits, you wind up in an administrative corrective order.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
So if you guys want a good night read, staff has copies of the document, so along with the 5 technical memorandums that support it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say before we left, I just wanted to thank Black and Veatch and SPI and water engineering staff and wastewater treatment plant staff for their hard work on putting this together.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you all. Appreciate it. All right, and those that are here for presentations and would like to leave, now's the time to do so. And we appreciate you coming. Now we're going to move into public comments. Now's the time for any citizen who wishes to speak. You may make public comments on the consent agenda or regular agenda items 1 through 9 and 14. Or other topics, but items 10 through 13 have already been heard in public hearing, therefore citizens cannot speak on these items. Citizens wishing to speak on items 15 and 16 will be given the opportunity to speak during the public hearing at that time. So if you want to stay around, you can wait. We're not going to let you speak on those issues twice. So you will get one opportunity. The city clerk will call your name when it's your time to speak. When you approach the podium, if we have not called out your address, city, and state, please say it. You will have 3 minutes for public comments. The green light will come on when you approach the podium, and the red light will come on when your time's up. Please be reminded that when you're at the podium, members of council, we cannot respond to your comments or questions unless it's a posted agenda item. So, but we will follow up with you, and there is staff that may reach out to you before you leave the meeting.
Kevin, and I think that's Chance, 932 West Lucas, Beaumont, Texas.
Council and city administrators, thank you for the opportunity for me to speak. My sister Christina Newcomb died March 17th, 2022. She was 63. She had had lifelong health issues, which eventually led to her going on Social Security disability. Shortly before her death, we had encouraged her to seek out counseling for her mental health. Being on Medicare and Medicaid, she had limited resources to get help. She did manage to get an appointment through Spindletop Center 30 days from whenever she said it. She died 1 week later. I can't really say whether or not if she'd been able to talk with someone sooner, it would have made a difference. It was only after her death that we found out that she had fallen back into what had been a problem in the past, opioids. So why do I tell you this story? My understanding is council is considering an agreement with Baptist Hospital to forego some fees and expenses Baptist would otherwise incur. And I would ask council to consider adding some requirements to that agreement to require Baptist office services to those people who can least afford it. If it takes 30 days to get an appointment with Spinaltop, which is usually the last resort, then there is, it appears there's a lack of services locally available to those who can least afford it. So I would ask y'all to consider that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Adrian Smoke, 2099 Dowling Road, number 38, Beaumont, Texas.
She is not here yet.
Okay.
You could slide her back. Thank you.
I think it's Kima Lovett Senior, 5410 McAnally Drive, Beaumont, Texas. Is it, what's the first name? Kima, okay.
So, Mayor, I think it's important that you notify the public that if they weren't wanting to speak on item 15, that the dialogue can only occur during the public hearing, during public comment. That's the time for people to just speak generally, but during public comment is a time that council can have dialogue during that public hearing item. So
On the
individuals.
public hearing, right.
Yeah, so individuals wishing to speak can speak now, just the council cannot engage because staff hasn't given their report.
Right. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Mayor West and council members. My name is Kima Lovett Sr., and I'm the owner of Lovett's Trucking Academy, a local CDL training school serving our community. I'm here today to bring attention to an issue affecting my business, and more importantly, the individuals in the community seeking a career opportunity and opportunity to change their lives. We have been experiencing ongoing challenges with the Texas Workforce Solutions, specifically when applicants express his interest in attending Lovett's Trucking Academy. They are being redirected to the larger institutions such as Lamar Institute of Technology, Lamar State College Port Arthur, and Lamar State College Orange. This is even happening when the applicant has clearly stated their preference to attend our school. As a licensed and qualified training provider, federal regulations under 20 CFR 680.340 furthermore emphasizes that participants must be given the ability to choose an eligible provider and that the system may support that and not steer them away. This not only impacts small businesses like mine, but also but also limits fair access and opportunities within our local workforce system. We are simply asking for transparency, fairness, and equal consideration so that all approved training providers, regardless of the size and the race, are given the opportunity to serve the students who choose to attend their school. That's it. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Jerome Alexander, 1118 Avalon, Beaumont, Texas.
Good afternoon. How y'all doing? Jerome Alexander, 1118 Evelyn, Beaumont, Texas. I came down here on behalf of the Lovett Trucking organization that the brother just got up here speaking about. It's you got board members in that's collected members in I ain't trying to put you on the spot, but I just had to say, Mr. West, that you were one of the board members and for the Texas workforce. And I had a chance to talk to Mr. Lampkin at the Southeast Texas line, what it was, the Southeast Texas Impact meeting they had the other night. But this the issue is, we go to the employment office, like myself, I went, and I asked to sign up for the Lovett Trucking. but they deferred me to go over here. But they charge 20% over here at Lamar when he's giving away, his business is free. So I told him I don't want to go to LIT. I want to go to Mr. Lovett. But they said we ain't got no funds for his trucking company, and it's not right because a lot of people that get out of prison and they go to his trucking company and they succeed. And we trying to stop crime and all this, and people get out of prison and they've been going and they've been sending them away. They trying to send them somewhere else and they don't have the money to pay the 20% to go to Mars. So they turn around and go somewhere else. So then they might go back and sell drugs. They might go back and do crime. So we trying to stop that in the community. So I appreciate if you would get with Miss Melody and the rest of the committee, sir, and talk about this and get the issue straight because people getting out, they need to move up further. The crime rate is bad. So, I'm trying to help people that get out, to do things that's right. And he doing things that's right for the community. And as officials and the people that support him, we should help him because he need the help. I don't want to see people keep going back to prison when they trying to change. And I appreciate if y'all would get, help us out. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Albert Harrison, 1240 Ashley, Beaumont, Texas.
Mayor, City Council, other city staff, and other citizens that are present. First of all, I'd like to thank, I think her name is Mrs. Foote, and also Mr. Mike Harris. Ms. Foote noticed in Avalon Street, in the 1100 block, that the hills of dirt that was caused by the city putting in a new water line. And so the hills of dirt prevented, such as mowing the grass in that area, and walkways, driveways, you couldn't get into them because of the hills of dirt. So I'd like to thank them for correcting that particular problem. Next, I'm moving on to the corner of Avalon and Forest and Avalon and Ewing Street, where the city also, in putting that new water line in, tore the street up across. Now there are protruding rocks, bricks from that area where they tried to asphalt it or whatever the case may be. Also, right now, there are potholes. I saw a young kid with a bicycle the other day when that pothole busted the entire tire. Just so happened that I was able to fix it for him. The other thing I'd like to address is I keep on trying to tell you all, my water bill says I'm receiving a senior citizen discount. But when I add at the previous reading and the current reading, I don't see a discount. So I can't understand why I keep bringing this problem to y'all and it's not being corrected. The next thing is that I made a phone call to Miss Valeria Molly, still have not received a phone call back. The other part of the water issue that they corrected was the walkway into my property. They still had not prepared it, plus the guy by the name of Walter says he's not going to do anything to repair it. But he goes back to a picture that was taken, I believe, in 2012 and said that's why he's not going to do anything. But I have a picture of 2023 where y'all did do something, and I came before y'all and said what y'all did is not going to be there. It's going to wash out. And that's exactly what happened. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Adrian Smock, 2099 Dowling Road, number 38, Beaumont, Texas.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Adriana Smoke, and I'd like to speak with you all about how we can strengthen return on investment for our community in the Neighborhood Empowerment Zone with Beaumont 194 LLC. Even though the name says Beaumont, they're actually a developer out of Houston, which I'm sure you know. They have plans to build about a 400-home development near Point Parkway. We always hear about new revenue, which is wonderful, but there are some real impacts of this investment that need to be evaluated. For example, no doubt this will put a large demand on the roads, the drainage, our schools, our emergency services. So the questions abound. Are the infrastructure costs fully accounted for in the reimbursement model? Or will residents and our taxpayers here absorb these long-term impacts? Do we have an accounting for the tax revenue that's being given up? I did some napkin math based on the article in the April 21st news article on KBMT News. It was reported there that it's an estimated cost to the developer of $23 million that they're investing. 40% of the tax revenue generated from those homes, from the taxpayers, would be returned to the developer. That's an estimated $828,000 in tax revenue generated per year. And that's $3.3 million in tax dollars returned back to the developer over 10 years. So that's bolstering their profit based on their cost of over 14%, an additional 14% profit to them paid by our taxpayers. This tax revenue is being circumvented from our precious city to Houston. We should be able to see measurable community benefits like infrastructure replenishment, investment, workforce development, and partnerships with local businesses. These should be written directly into the agreement. Equally as important, we should require public and verifiable reporting so that the residents here can see what they're getting in return. These agreements represent a public investment. It's only reasonable to ensure that these investments deliver clear and measurable return for the people who live and work here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Larry Gauthier, P.O. Box 20042, Beaumont, Texas.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members. Chris, congratulations on your new position. And also to Ms. Molly that was working on the transportation issue. And I didn't get a chance at the last meeting to say anything about it, so I'm gonna bring it up, but if something gets done, oh well. Magnolia at Interstate 10, going north. The road has patches on it, numerous. Can't be helped, but at least they're patching it up. But it's very bad condition. Okay, and then Ms. Molly, like I said, the last time I was here, that if people get off at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they cannot be home by 2 p.m. Slow down a little bit, let the traffic flow. But most of the people want to drive 45, 50, 60, and all that kind of stuff. Next thing, I spoke about dirty electricity in the city. I imagine they're doing something about that, but I haven't seen it yet. And now we have stress has popped back up. Abuse. Abuse is if it is not solved or resolved by the abuser, then it is still there centuries later. Thank you, and y'all have a good fast day.
Thank you, sir.
And that's all I have, Mayor.
All right. So we'll be closing public comments. Nobody else has signed up. Is there a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
There is a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Welcome, Mr. Boone, to your first meeting as city manager. If we may have the reading of item number 1.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 1 is a resolution. Council to consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to award a contract to Southern Trenchless Solutions, LLC of La Feria, Texas, with the citywide manhole rehabilitation Phase 1 project. The citywide manhole rehabilitation Phase 1 project includes the repairing of damaged manholes and associated components and installing new manholes where necessary to improve systems performance and accessibility. 3 bids were received for this project, and Water Utilities engineering staff recommends this project be awarded to the lowest bidder, Southern Trenchless Solutions, LLC, in the amount of $348,235. Funding is available from water revenue bonds, and the administration recommends approval of this resolution.
Is there a motion for item number 1?
Move to approve.
Is there a second? There is a motion and a second for item number 1. Is there any discussion? You can absolutely ask the question.
Molly, I have a question on this one. And I always cringe when we go with the lowest bidder because I see change orders coming. So did we make sure we took all the steps when we did the bidding, in the bidding process, to make sure that we omitted as many unseen possibilities as possible, like loose dirt or uneven surfaces, or, you know, anything else that could possibly go wrong that would cause us to have 4 or 5 change orders so that the lowest bid doesn't turn into the highest?
So with it being a unit price contract, we do the best that we can to identify all the existing conditions of the sites. There are terms and conditions in the contract for differing site conditions, and we do our best to work with the contractor through that. We also work through to do the background checks and make sure that the references that they submit check out, and that the work that they claim that they did at other systems was actually done, and to that customer's satisfaction. Of course, not every project is perfect, but because it is a unit price contract, a rising tide raises all boats. So there's not where the apparent low bid, you start adjusting and you had to add quantities, all of the bids would have to be adjusted accordingly. So your low bidder is still the low bidder. It's very, very unusual that that ends up not being the case. It's definitely the exception and not the norm.
Well, we've seen some cases where the low bidder ended up as the high bidder because there was unforeseen conditions under the road, or there was instability in the dirt. And so I just want to make sure that we try to close all those loopholes so that the only price we pay is the one they bid or lower if possible.
Well, yes, because I'd like avoiding these conversations.
Yes,
I'm going to
ma'am.
be honest. But yes, we do the best that we can. But, you know, if this was work that was easy and straightforward, you know, then we probably wouldn't be contracting it out. But these are some very challenging conditions that we have to do the work in order to secure the sewer system, which is why we're asking for those contractors to perform the work. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of approval of item number 1, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. Boone, may we have the reading of item number 2?
Yes, sir. Item number 2 is a resolution to consider authorizing the purchase of one 10 MGD secondary recirculation pump at the wastewater treatment plant. This 10 MGD pump is critical for daily operations, but is currently operating inefficiently. Due to its advanced age, the pump has reached the end of its reliable service life and replacement is required. The total pricing for one Fairbanks Morse pump and motor is $225,000. Funding is available from water revenue bonds, and we do recommend approval of this resolution.
Is there a motion for item number 2?
Move to approve item number 2.
Is there a second? There's a motion and a second for approval of item number 2. Is there any discussion? Yes, Councilman Hilliard.
What type of warranty do we get with this? $225,000.
I'm not sure at this moment. I'll have to look it up to get you the exact warranty on it.
Okay, please.
You know, it does come with a warranty.
I'd just like to know how long
Yeah.
for that kind of money.
Yes. Exactly.
Thank you, Mike.
I'll check in and let you know.
Any other comments or discussion, questions? All those in favor of approving item number 2, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 3?
Yes, sir. Item number 3 is to consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to award a contract to Construction Managers of Southeast Texas, LLC of Beaumont, Texas, for the Cattail Marsh Wetlands 72-inch outfall pipe platform project. This 72-inch outfall pipe platform project will provide a catwalk and platform to access the electrical box and pipeline hatch at the facility. 3 bids were received for this work, and Water Utility staff recommends awarding the contract to the lowest bidder, Construction Managers of Southeast Texas, LLC, in the amount of $80,248. Funds are available for this work in the water revenue bonds, from water revenue bonds, and we recommend approval of this resolution.
Thank you. Is there a motion on item number 3?
Move to approve. Second.
There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 3. Is there any question? Yes, Councilman Durio.
So I guess these last 2 items, will this address some of the problems that was in the presentation that y'all made earlier?
Yeah, it's yours, go.
As Mike's coming up, I will, and he may touch on this, we are having a CIP, Community Investment Plan, coming up soon, and some of the items that we talked about today will be in that. Go ahead, Mike.
That's correct. The items that were basically in the presentation are ones that we have wrote into the CIP for future that we'll be discussing.
Okay.
This particular item here and the pump that we just discussed were actually in the CIP for last year.
Okay.
But like I said, they're not part of the upcoming CIP, except for, present year.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. Councilman Crenshaw.
Molly, can you please, can you tell us by the bids why there was such a stark difference between 2 Beaumont companies with such a broad difference in the bids?
Yeah, that's a significant spread in the 3 bids that we did receive. You also have to consider that the workload that the current contractor has. And so in order for them to be able to perform the work and adjust their schedules on other ongoing projects tends to raise the cost to the contract.
Have we done work with Construction Managers of Southeast Texas before?
No, this is our first contract with them, and but they did meet all of the criteria and the background checks, and so we are recommending award to them.
Okay. And is there any limitations on additional work orders or anything related to this? Or?
So we are limited by the state requirements on any increases in costs up to, I believe we require no more than 20 or 25%. But also too, there has to be justification to that. This is a project that has been lingering out there for a couple of years, and the wastewater treatment and the wetland staff need this access for safety. And so that's why we're bringing it to you today.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm sure it's 100% needed. I was just curious if it being a brand new contractor, if either our own guidelines or state guidelines, provided that there was additional scrutiny or limitations on what could happen when you have a brand-new contract?
All of the above. Our terms and conditions on our contracts are pretty onerous, and so we make sure that we adhere to all of them and that the contractor adheres to it as well. And if they don't, then there's recourses in that contract.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's no other comments or questions, all those in favor of approving item number 3, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 4, please?
Yes, Mayor. Item number 4 is to consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an advanced funding agreement, or AFA, with the Texas Department of Transportation for the citywide school zone sign improvements project. The scope of work for this AFA will consist of the installation of uniform solar-powered flashing assemblies with a cloud-based monitoring and management system and upgrading existing reduced-speed school zone signs citywide. The total project estimate is $1.9 million, with federal funds providing $1.8 million and the state providing $86,948. The city's match of $363,400 will be covered by transportation development credits, and the city would be responsible for any cost overruns. Funds are available for this project in the capital program, and we do recommend approval of this resolution.
Is there a motion for item number 4? There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 4. Is there any discussion? Councilman Turner?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, Mr. Manager, can you just kind of give a little bit more detail for people who may not understand when we say school zones? I had someone call me earlier and ask, is it in particular school zone? I know you said school zones throughout the city. Does that include our elementary, middle school, and high school?
Yeah, I'll defer to Molly on details. If you look at attachment A in the report, you'll see a map. And again, the projects are distributed really throughout the city. But Molly, if you have any additional input on that.
Yes, sir. That currently is our plan, to start with the elementary schools and work our way up through the junior high and high schools.
Okay, so elementary would be made the priority with the funding.
That is our intent, is to start with those. That's our most vulnerable school age, and then work our way up to junior and high schools.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Crenshaw?
And just so I'm clear, and anyone else that may not be clear, what are transportation development credits? How many do we have? And is it like a dollar balance or?
That is something I will have to get more information on. I'm still learning the transportation credit portion of this.
It's
Demi question.
Demi, you're good.
Thank you.
So TxDOT has the ability to issue out transportation development credits as they see fit. We just simply apply for them and they say yay or nay, and then that essentially helps us with our match for grants.
Okay. And so is this on a per project basis, or do we have like a certain amount of credits we get every year that we get to allocate to certain projects?
Per project.
Per project, okay. And so this is basically costing the city nothing. The city's match was completely provided by TxDOT.
Now that I will defer back to Molly on that, but I believe how this is
Yes.
reading, yes.
Yes, the city's match is TDC's.
Yeah, even in the CIP, our portion is 0. We are on the hook if there are cost overruns in the construction.
Okay, and we don't have a project, we haven't done the bid yet?
No, sir. This is allowing us to get started.
Okay, great.
Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor of approval of item number 4, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 5?
Yes, sir. Item number 5 is to consider a resolution authorizing the city manager to accept maintenance and authorize final payment to MK Constructors of Vidor for the concrete pavement repair citywide Phase 3 project. This project has been inspected by the City Engineering Division and found to be complete and in accordance with the provisions and terms set forth in the contract. Acceptance and maintenance and final payment in the amount of $220,938.48 is recommended. The funding is available through COs, and we do recommend approval of this payment and this resolution.
All right, is there a motion for item number 5? There is a motion and 2 seconds. Any discussion? Councilman Durio, then Councilman Hilliard.
Yeah, just one comment. I received phone calls about this particular company, and if we could, how good a job do we do of notifying the citizens when a big project like this is coming up? Because a lot of them said they just looked up and people were digging up their driveway and stuff and didn't know anything about it. Do we try to contact them and let them know that a big project like this is getting ready to happen?
We do task the contractor with doing the notifications of the neighborhood. And I think I understand the situation that you're particularly referring to. We had a very stern conversation with that contractor because they know better. And so we have to require them to be good partners and good neighbors while they're working. And so we are reinforcing that fact with them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Hilliard, did you have a question?
Yes. This total project was 4 million?
Yes, sir.
How many change orders were submitted, and what was their original price? What was the original bid price for this project?
Have to take a look at it.
Seeing if it was in my folder, but it's not.
Let's see. Sorry, I don't see any change orders that came about in this contract is because we had to add work. One of the things that was ongoing is that Phelan was part of this contract, and we started seeing a lot of deterioration of Phelan from the time the contract was awarded to the time that the contractor was starting to work on Phelan. So we had to add significant amount of panel repairs to Phelan Drive because the pavement had shifted, and we received a lot of complaints from the citizens and from council as well. We added that to the contract. There were two locations in particular in neighborhoods where the panel repairs required additional work to ease the transitions to promote to keep water from piling up in the gutters. So had we bid it and other contractors been awarded, those bids as well would have been adjusted accordingly for those change orders. But and I can get you the additional details to confirm all that information. And sorry, it wasn't in here. But yeah, as we go through it, we find more work for this, especially the concrete repairs are extremely expensive. And so that's where that additional work, it was needed. We stayed under the 25% limit, but tried to maximize the opportunity while we have the contractor to get the roads in as good a condition as we could. Thank you.
Councilman Crenshaw, then Councilman Turner.
And I'm unfamiliar with the issue that you're referring to, Councilman Durio, but I would like to, and I'm sure it's completely justified, I would also just like to say a nice thing about this contractor. They did concrete work on the Crow Road improvement, and that's on my daily route to Rayo's on by Parkdale. Shout out to tourists. That crew did an outstanding job. Not only was it done quickly, the flag crew that helped direct traffic was extremely friendly and did a great job of keeping people safe while they were going through that construction area there. And I thought the quality of work that they did with the concrete was excellent. So I hate to hear that there was a negative experience with this project, but I would just like to say that I thought the contractor has done a great job with some road projects in Ward 1.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Turner?
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on Councilman Hilliard, out of curiosity, I'm going through the itemized work within this bid, and is it possible to be too much of a strain to show on the bid the original price versus our final payout?
No, we can add that to the memos in the future. It's just a matter how, what details y'all want to see. We'll be happy to include it. We have all the data. I can provide you the report. We're just trying to be mindful of how thick these packets end up becoming, but we have the data. We'll share it.
Yeah, my big concern, and it's not this company in particular, just any company in general, I just kind of want to see a pattern. I just want to kind of be able to research the numbers of what we started at and what we ended off paying. I do understand things do come up, especially with concrete jobs and piping jobs, but I just like to kind of see what we started in comparison to what we finished.
Well, and when we present change orders to the council, if it is a staff-driven change order, we note that in the change order language. But this is a final closeout that does not have a final change order attached to it. So that's why some of the detail is not included in here. But we certainly can provide that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Councilman Durio? We're still on item 5.
In 5, doesn't it says that the resolution, the city council awarded a contract to MK Construction Provider in the amount of $4.1 million. So that will be the starting price, the $4,130,000?
Yes, sir.
That's the contract.
Okay, this $220,938, is that included in that 4.1, or is that in addition to it to close it out?
No, sir, that is the final 5% or the retainage of the contract. It is under that umbrella cost. Every pay invoice that they send us, we withhold 5% of what they invoice us, and we save that to the very end. And once all work is complete to the satisfaction of the city, then the council votes to authorize us to release that final 5%.
Okay, so this is all part of the original contract?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if there's no other questions or discussion, all those in favor of item number 5, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. Manager, may we have the reading of item 6?
Yes, sir. Item number 6 is a resolution for council to approve awarding hotel occupancy tax grant funding for FY27. In accordance with the hotel occupancy tax grant application policies and procedures, which were implemented a couple years ago, the grant applications for HOT funding have been submitted for review by the Beaumont Convention and Visitors Bureau HOT Grant or Hotel Grant Review and Selection Committee. Attached are the recommendations from the committee. The City Council is being asked to review and approve the recommended funding for the HOT grants, taking into consideration that the applications submitted were thoroughly reviewed, evaluated, and followed the HOT grant fund policies and statutory requirements as found in the Texas Tax Code, which resulted in these recommendations by the committee. Funds are available in the Hotel Occupancy Tax Fund, and we do recommend approval of this resolution.
All right, is there a motion and a second for item number 6? There's a motion and a second for approval of item number 6. Is there any discussion? Councilman Crenshaw?
Just curious, who is on the HOT Grant Review Committee?
Freddie, Rebecca, do you have a?
On the HOT occupancy grant process, there are 7 members, myself, Executive Director, our Chairman of the Advisory Board, a past Advisory Board member, someone from the Finance team, the legal team as well. Did I miss anyone? And Mr. Boone as well.
Just curious. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Turner?
Yeah, just out of curiosity, just for staff, I've kind of had people reach out to me, whether it be CDBG grant funding or high tax funding, like with recipients. Some people kind of feel like they're either discouraged because they might not know about the process. Can we look in the future to do maybe some form of a training where we can see if new applicants can at least kind of walk through how to fill it out and to look at if it's a pattern of just the same recipients? I support what we're getting, but some people are saying they're discouraged because the same ones get it every time.
Yeah, I would ask maybe just to touch on, if you could, the orientation meeting we have. But yeah, there's always room for improvement in terms of, announcing that the grants are upcoming and try to broaden that net. But yeah, if y'all could just touch real briefly on the orientation.
Sure. On the City of Beaumont's government page, Facebook page, there is a link to the Beaumont Convention and Visitors Bureau. On that link, it lives information about the hotel occupancy tax grant. It lives there, any updates are there. Each January, we notify and upload that new information, and it comes with a schedule of what's to come associated with the grant. One of which is a date that is given for orientation that is always posted there. The deadline is posted as well. When we actually submit and meet to review the grant, that's listed also. Everything is very transparent. And even when we're planning on coming to City Council to have you all review it, all of those dates are listed on the website.
So I think just following up on that, it's all very transparent, but I think we could probably work on marketing it a little better.
I didn't have an opportunity to attend the meeting, but I generally do sit on the board, and I would say, I can't speak for this year, but the last 2 years, we did have new applicants that applied. However, one of the criteria for receiving high tax or occupancy tax is that you're going to fill hotel rooms. And so sometimes it's harder for new organizations who are wanting to bring in events because they don't have the data to show that it's going to attract outside visitors, and they haven't had that proven data for that. So, and sometimes they choose not to move forward with it. So although the programming that's presented is interesting and may be beneficial, one of the strong criteria is, and I'm usually the mean one in the room saying, but is it going to meet the criteria of putting heads in beds? That's a very strong criteria for us to be able to award hotel occupancy tax. And some of the repeat recipients have had their events for multiple years. They have very strong data and strong evidence of outside visitors staying in hotels. They're essentially used to applying for this grant, and so they know what data to provide and they know what information. And because they've applied for it in the past, they have track of the data to show that they put heads in beds in order to qualify.
Yeah, and I totally understand. I'm not fighting the transparency of the process. It's, even with a startup business, you want to at least, if you're giving people opportunity, even if it's on a smaller scale, that a smaller percentage can be carved out for people who are starting up. Like, and I understand you want to prove it and you want to have the analytical data to show, but sometimes people can never show. They never have an opportunity to show what they can do or bring something to the table. So that was just something I talked to somebody about, and I'm like, look, I don't mind asking, and I don't mind asking up front. It's not a shot at you guys. It's just a concern that someone brought to us, and it's not just this. It's even the committees we appoint with some of our CDBG funding, and that's why I said I would ask, and I think this is a good opportunity to kind of discuss it.
I will say that we have, last year and this year, we do offer a orientation training. It's highly, strongly recommended, but is not required because we understand. And we did have 3 or 4 new organizations that we had never heard of before. But we go through and explain, just like Ms. Reed said, what the criteria for the hotel occupancy tax. It's very specific and outlined by Texas tax code. And so we went through that, and then they realized that their project that they were looking for did not meet the HOT grant requirements. I also fielded several calls from different nonprofits because they had heard about it, saw, the announcements. And after we discussed that and we went over that same requirements, they realized, oh no, I just needed funding for a local event, no hotel rooms, doesn't meet any of the criteria. So, and I would rather have those conversations and be educational. Why waste your time? When you're a grant writer, that's a lot of time spent for both them and for us for review. So we did have a lot more applicants that decided not to submit their application because they didn't meet the criteria based upon who attended the orientation and the phone calls I received.
And is the money kind of standardly the same amount yearly, or does it kind of deviate depending on what we?
So the money is based on how much you have to allocate. And so different people ask for different things. To her point, we have to issue the money in requirement for state law. So like it's very clear that it could be a great program, but if it's not going to meet the hotel and beds requirement, then by law, we can't review it. And so that's the only reason why I'm in the room. But everybody else is in the room to evaluate some of their programming, some of the programming needs. And then it really just comes down to merit. How much money do we have? And the money, if the money's a lot, the asks get bigger every year, the money kind of stays consistent. And so we're looking at how do you award this limited amount of money to all of these great programming. And so that's where your citizens who are in the room kind of come into play, and they advocate for these different organizations based on their experience, the programs that they're putting forth, how good or how great they were, and how much they want to repeat and see those in the community.
But the amount established,
Roughly 300,000 every year.
and that's established through the budget. Yes, sir.
Okay, that was the clarity I was looking for. Is it roughly the same amount every year?
It used to be a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the 80s, it was 100,000, and before it became a competitive grant, it slowly inched up 200, 250, so forth. So this 300,000 is the maximum it's been since the competitive grant started.
And well, do you know about the last time it got to 300,000? Have it been a few years? Does it need to be a little bit of pressure to get a little bit more like?
So
That's
2020,
4 years?
2023 is when we established the new policy, and I think we set the new amount. Again, as we go into the budget process this summer, depending on the availability of funds, it can be adjusted up or down.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
How much do we have?
300,000.
No, but how much do we have like in the bank and hot taxes? Like
Currently, we would have to get that number to you.
I would have to look at that and get back to you.
All right, Councilman Hilliard, then Councilwoman Sherwood.
For those that weren't here on a whole nother deal, will you tell us how much money was brought in to the city last year?
According to the governor's office, and these numbers come out on an annual basis, strictly from the governor's office, 408.3 million in direct spending because of tourism in Beaumont.
Beaumont, Texas, which is up 63%?
I think it was more like 4.6%.
Okay. That's pretty awesome. Good job.
Thank you.
Councilwoman?
I was just gonna ask Attorney Reed, so if there's no wiggle room in when you're picking, there's no like threshold minimums that you could change to include.
So let me walk you through the process. And I think after I do that, it'll probably kind of help you either ask me the question in a different way or maybe answer the question indirectly. So the first thing we do in the room is we go through and look at whether or not, before we talk about any money, whether or not this program is going to meet that one legal requirement. For me, will they put heads in beds? And we separate them out. And so we can almost always eliminate some of the newer projects because either they haven't been proven to put heads in beds, or they're not advertising to bring people in from out of town, or the program itself is very singly focused for the 409 area, which means it will most likely will not attract someone from a Houston or Lake Charles or someone from out of town. There's no outside draw. And so once we eliminate those individuals and we're down to just individuals who presented data and provided that, now we start looking at how much revenue they bring in terms of outside things, how much money we weigh that against how much money they're asking for and how much money we have in the budget, right? So you could have somebody who's asking for an extreme amount of money, but that would mean that we would have to cut out a lot of programs. So now we start trying to divvy the money based on equity programming, draw into the city, benefit to the citizens, and also meeting that criteria. So everyone who's been awarded money on the list will meet the criteria of heads and beds. Remember, this is a recommendation to council. If council is not satisfied with the way the money has been allocated, then council can adjust. But the committee sits down and they really spend a lot of time thinking about how they can divide this money in the most equitable way possible to both meet the needs of the person applying, but also what's going to be the return and the benefits to the citizens, keeping in mind that top criteria that this puts heads and beds, like what's going to draw in that outside money to come back to the city.
I just was, that's kind of what I was wondering. Is there any
I'm learning to read your
outside
mind.
input to change who's getting what? Okay, gotcha.
So anytime you have a situation where it's bringing back to council, y'all, this is not a rubber stamp situation. That's why it's on the agenda the way it is. Council has the ability to make adjustments. You do, like everybody who's serving on that board, advisory, or whatever, at some point was appointed by council. So these are your representatives from the community. And I think Rebecca does a really great job of dividing out for us and kind of outlining for those individuals who are in the room to make the meeting go smoothly, because it is a long process of dividing out what they did last year, hotel-wise, what they're projected to do this year, hotel-wise, how their programming has grown, what they're bringing in, what we've seen. And again, most of these are repeat applicants because it does make the data easier, right? And so we have that data to talk about and discuss in the room. So what's reflected in the recommendation is really what that group of people sat down and said, this is what we feel is equitable and fair. Not everybody gets 100% of their ask. Sometimes people are asking for less, and so it's easier to kind of award that. But you have noticed that there have been an increase, and I think she has an increase in what we've been able to award every year. I can tell you that people were very dissatisfied with the awards we made last year, based on the fact that even though we gave money because we know that they put heads and beds, but they weren't putting as many. Their programming was limited. And so we awarded money with stipulations. Hey, if you want to be considered for more money next year, show us that you're bringing more people into Beaumont. And those are conversations that we have. We put that in our agreements with them. So this is not just a rubber stamp like, they bring in regular. We're looking for increases in their programming and increases in their ability to bring in an outside crowd.
And I will say, nobody's getting 100% funding. We're not the sole funder, and all amounts that were recommended is less than what the grant applicant asked for.
Councilman Durio?
So the hot tax grant, the monies themselves, they come directly from the money that the city takes in on hotel taxes?
Hotel occupancy tax collections, yes.
Okay, and so we are the one that sets this $300,000 for each fiscal year. That's how they decide, because I know we took in more than that per year, but that's what we set aside for the grants.
For the grant portion, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
That's a question.
Councilman Turner?
Is this grant something the nonprofit has to fund first and get back after the event? Is it a reimbursement, or is it something they get up front?
It was established in sort of two paths. For if it's an ongoing, like the museums that are open 365 days and they're doing exhibitions quarterly or special events and things like that, they get 4 quarterly payments. Their paperwork is submitted with the contract. They get the first payment. They have to provide quarterly reports telling what happened in that quarter because they're ongoing. If it is a festival or a one-time event, they get their money 60 days prior to the event, and then they have to do a post-event report. All the following reports, whether they're quarterly or post-event, they have to provide budgets, how they spent our money, provide the visitor statistics, where they stayed in a hotel, where did they have a room block. And when we do visitor statistics, we're asking how many local, how many out of Texas, how many international, state, there's a lot of reporting and data that they have to provide, and plus copies of their, how they're spending their money, the receipts, the copies of the ads, analytics, because in the contract, it's required that at least a portion, and that's going up, has to be spent outside the city. We are not funding local events. That's what's required by state. So this money is marketing to the visitor outside the area to bring them, as Mr. Ray said, heads and beds, and then it has to meet the criteria specified by state tax code. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. Portions and 60 days prior to for the one-time event, so. yeah, quarterly and
Right. And
60
then they all
days
have to
too.
do reports, and we review the courts, I make sure all the documents there, we need more of this, whatever, and so it's all digitized and kept.
And again, they have to spend a certain percentage on promoting the event outside of Beaumont, at least 50 to 75 miles out, because we want to bring visitors in.
Thank you. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
If there's no other questions or discussion, all those in favor of approving item number 6, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 7?
Yes, Mayor. Item number 7 is to consider an ordinance amending Chapter 22, Division 4, Section 22.02.149 of the Utilities Ordinance. Staff is recommending amending the sanitary sewer lift station ordinance to include paragraph E. Such requirements herein may be modified by the City Council as part of an economic development initiative. And reading paragraph E is notwithstanding the provisions of this section, the City Council may modify, waive, or participate in the costs associated with sanitary sewer lift stations and related appurtenances as part of a written economic development agreement approved by the City Council, including agreements authorized under Chapter 380 of the Texas Local Government Code. Any such modifications or participation shall be expressly set forth in the approved agreement. Administration does recommend approval of this ordinance.
Is there a motion for item number 7?
Second.
There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 7. Is there any discussion?
Is this necessary for the item we discussed earlier in executive session?
It does allow for participation through a 380 economic development to support such investments. Otherwise, it's prohibited. But yes, sir.
All right, if there's no other questions or discussion, all those in favor of item number 7, of approval of item number 7, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 8?
Yes, sir. Item number 8 is to consider a request to amend section 28.02.008D of the City of Beaumont Code of Ordinances. The 89th Texas Legislature enacted House Bill number 24, which took effect on September 1st, 2025. The bill amends Chapter 211 of the Texas Local Government Code and modifies procedures related to protests against zoning changes. Previously, when at least 20% of the property owners with land adjacent to and within 200 feet from a proposed rezoning file opposition to a request, the City Council was required to secure a supermajority vote in order to approve the rezoning, rather than a simple majority in a regular rezoning case. Under House Bill 24, new provisions apply to certain rezonings that increase residential development. In such cases, a protest must now be filed by 60% or more of the property owners with land adjacent to and within 200 feet from the proposed rezoning. Administration does recommend approval of this ordinance change.
Okay, is there a motion for item number 8?
Moved.
There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 8. Is there any questions? Yes, Councilwoman.
Because this was organized by the Texas Legislature, technically, we're approving what's been done by the legislature. We don't really have a choice.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to verify. I don't want nobody saying we did.
Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor of approving item number 8, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is passed. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 9?
Yes, item number 9 is to consider an ordinance amending the FY26 budget. The city of Beaumont maintains a landfill for all the residences and businesses of the city and county. The landfill must meet TCEQ, Texas Commission on Environmental Quality standards and requirements. Recent data indicates that the normal yearly precipitation was approximately 62 inches for Beaumont. The landfill receives an average of 1,206 tons of non-hazardous solid waste a day, or 373,860 tons a year, from about 150 customers a day, or 56,940 customers a year. Leachate is removed from our current disposal system, and that's estimated to be 6 million gallons per year. For the last 2 years. Leachate is water that has been contaminated by coming into contact with the solid waste in the landfill. A total of 1/3 of the landfill has a leachate collection and disposal system, while 2/3 of the landfill does not. Previous landfill practice for removing any ponded water on the landfill was to dig a hole and let the water drain into the landfill. The new practice is to channel as much water as possible off the landfill to avoid creating additional leachate. Based on the amount of leachate trapped in the landfill, it is recommended expediting the removal of the leachate to maintain compliance with TCEQ requirements and reduce any potential environmental impact. A leachate collections and storage system should have been designed and installed many years ago. A leachate storage area and disposal system is now being recommended at a cost of $477,490. Administration is recommending approval of this budget amendment to cover this cost. Funds are available in the solid waste fund.
Is there a motion for item number 9?
Move to approve.
There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 9. Is there any questions? Councilman Turner, then Councilman Hilliard.
Just out of curiosity, with our solid waste fund and our landfill fund, I understand that it is some form of I don't want to say business, but it brings in a profit. Out of curiosity, do we have multiple lines, or is it just one line to bring in trash or whatever else you may be bringing into the landfill? I asked because a commercial developer asked me, was it a commercial line and was it a line for regular residents? And I couldn't answer it. And I seen this and I thought it'd be a good time to ask.
Okay. June is Fernando.
He was, but
Fernando was, calling.
And if we can't get the answer today, I think that might be something good, because I like to be able to answer that, because I was told that in Pearland it was 2 lines and we didn't have it. And I said, well, I'll ask.
Okay, we'll find out for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll have to look and see if it's broken out. If it's not broken out in the ACFR, that does not mean that it's not specifically broken out in our financials. There's a lot of line items in the ACFR.
Okay, I just want to be able to get accurate information people ask, so thank you.
Council Member Turner, when you say 2 lines, you're referring to maybe a commercial line versus residential, and that is true. We do have commercial customers as well as residents. As long as they show their like a water utility bill, they can dump for free at our landfill.
Okay.
But it is separate from commercial companies.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to see. I just wanted to see if they all entered in one line, or was it 2 separate lines?
You're saying other cities have 2?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, so they do enter in one line, and their weight.
Okay.
The vehicles are weighed, and that's how they're.
And the commercial company actually pays, right? Residential is free, but commercial company pays.
That's correct.
Yeah, maybe we need to get them in.
All right. Is there any other questions or discussion on item number 9? All those in favor of approving item number 9, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 10, please?
Yes, sir. Item number 10 is to consider an ordinance authorizing a rezoning from RS Residential Single Family Dwelling District to RMH Residential Multifamily Dwelling Highest Density District for a property located at 7825 and 7835 Highway 105 and 7830 Tolliver Road. At a joint public hearing held on April 20th, 2026, the Planning Commission recommended 7-0 to deny the request for a rezoning from RS to RMH for the property located at 7825 and 7835 Highway 105 and 7830 Tolliver Road. Administration recommends denial of the ordinance.
Is there a motion for item number 10?
I make a motion to approve.
The denial?
No.
Approve it.
I think we should approve this project. I don't understand why it got denied in planning and zoning. I mean, all it is going to be a couple of nice townhomes. I mean, how's that going to change traffic on 105?
I second that.
All right, so there is a motion and a second, and instead of the denial, they would, Councilman Turner. So there is a motion and a second for approval rather than the denial. So to be clear, it is an approval of the project. Is there any other questions or, yes?
I have a question similar to
Councilwoman.
Councilman. I'm sorry, I had a question kind of similar to Councilman Crenshaw. What was, did the planning give any reason for the 7-0 recommendation of the denial? I just be curious to figure out what were they thinking?
Yeah, so according to the comprehensive plan that's currently in place, I know that we're going through an update right now currently, but the one that we have in place right now says that this area is a contemporary neighborhood design concept. This model allows for a diversity of housing types and convenient access to parks, schools, and shopping centers while still protecting single-family residential areas from intrusion of incompatible land uses and vehicular traffic. So existing uses within the 200 feet, because that, and I use the 200-foot area because that by state law, that's the area that we have to notify property owners. So it felt applicable. Existing uses within the 200 feet of this site are single-family homes and a church. There is to the left of it a kennel that's been there, but that's been there for about 60 years. So that's grandfathered under the zoning code. So due to the potential high density that RMH could produce, it didn't seem compatible in that particular area. But of course, it's up to council's discretion whether to approve or deny.
I have, one second. So, but did any of the residents come or people come to talk about not wanting it or whatever the case may be?
We sent out 18 property owner notices. We did receive 2 in opposition and 0 in favor. Opposition, and I apologize, it's a little tough to read the handwriting, but as a resident for the past 27 years, I do not want multifamily housing next to my property. Looked like they had some property management concerns thereafter once it's constructed. And then there was also another concern of property management long-term. So those were the 2 that we received, but there was some opposition.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Turner?
Just out of curiosity, and maybe my city attorney can help me answer this one. Is it possible that it can be an amendment to make sure it is townhomes as presented versus apartments, or no?
No, once you change it to RMH, they would be allowed by right. Currently in RS, you could do townhomes. That's through our cluster housing ordinance, which is in our special conditions of the zoning code. So they could do that by right, so long as they, do the application, meet the standards and whatnot.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Crenshaw, then Councilman Williams.
Well, they could do apartments, but this is a very small parcel of land, correct?
Yeah, I think it's just under an acre in total for the 3 parcels.
It's not big enough.
So it wouldn't be, I suppose you could have a really small apartment complex, but it wouldn't be feasible, would it?
If they were to do the maximum amount of dwellings in our ordinances, I believe it's 29 dwellings per acre. So, scale that down just a little bit.
And the developer was proposing townhomes that he said were actually going to, be nice, where you have the garage at the bottom and the living quarters would be on top, if I recall correctly from the presentation.
Yeah, but we've not received anything formal, so I'm not entirely sure. I don't want to bind them to that.
Understood. And then is there going to be access for the townhomes on 105, or didn't he indicate that access would be from Tolliver?
In the site plan that I saw, there would be access on both sides.
On both sides?
But again, there's not been a formal building permit submitted for or anything like that, so I don't want to bind them to that. That's just the preliminary site plan we saw.
Okay. And this is for a change in zoning. Could we just do a specific use permit for townhomes?
No, but what would happen is townhomes would go under our cluster housing ordinance, which they're allowed by right in residential single family, which is what the property is zoned for currently. They would just have to meet the standards of our subdivision ordinance and also the standards that are within our zoning code. I think it comes down to, if I can recall right from the pre-development meeting, comes down to meeting the subdivision standards. So would have to put in a road and whatnot.
Okay.
Parking lot.
So could we require those as part of this rezoning?
You could not. A rezone is, that would basically go back to, or tie back to our permitted use table, and whatever is allowed by right or by conditional use permit or not at all would then be what's moving forward.
Yeah, just to clarify, for rezonings, because we see SUP, specific use permits, with a lot of we'll see some of those later in the meeting. Zonings are different in that there is no condition. So even though we try to get from the applicant a plan in terms of what they plan to do with the property, they're in no way obligated to follow that plan. And that's why, once it's rezoned, it's rezoned. So just wanted to clarify that.
Understood. Councilman Williams?
I think you already answered one of my questions. So the current zoning doesn't prevent townhouses from going there. And is there any other multifamily but adjacent to this property, or?
It'd be going further to the west along Highway 105 up towards 105 and Major intersection.
Okay.
That's closer to where the apartment complexes are.
Okay.
So to answer your question, there's nothing that prevents the current zoning from moving forward the way he has it now. The concern, I think, that was discussed at the meeting was like he could sell it. And once you change the zoning, there's no restrictions that you can put on it. It's whatever's allowed by right under that changed zoning would be allowed at that property.
Okay.
The proposal that he put forth is something that's allowable in that area currently under the current zoning. If he wanted to do something different for that property, changing the zoning would allow for that.
Any other questions or discussions?
But just so we're clear, we're only rezoning the 1 acre. And if in the future, anyone tried to do an apartment complex greater than the 20 units or whatever, they would have to come back and get approval for that.
Well, you wouldn't be able to do greater than 29 dwellings, which you'd need to scale that down because it's not exactly an acre with those three. But in order to increase that, they would have to get a variance through the Board of Adjustment or some kind of relief to the zoning code in that way.
They wouldn't be able to meet the parking requirement, most likely with that many units on that small of a lot. They wouldn't be able to meet the parking requirement for parking per unit. They wouldn't be able to meet the ingress egress requirements for the fire truck, as well as some other requirements that would be put. So having an apartment complex at that thing at the maximum capacity or even at some capacity would probably not work feasibly. I think if
the maximum overall height, well, not overall, but to the roof line or midway to the roof line that they could do is 35 feet in height. So, so where you may not be able to spread out this way, you can always go up.
Okay. So I guess I'm just trying to practically speak here. Even rezoning this, it does not sound like this single piece of property could be turned into an apartment complex.
It could, it's just highly
It
unlikely.
always could. It just depends on their engineer and what they can do to comply with the code, but it could.
But it would be a very small apartment complex.
It could, because there's always, it's tough to say. It's tough to say because there's only so much space you can go out, but you can always go up, and that could add floors. So 35 feet, you're probably looking at least 3 floors. And it just depends on the developer and what their goals are for return and all of that on their investment.
All right, but you will agree with me what was presented at the planning and zoning was townhomes.
Their representative did say townhomes. But that's not binding, just, I do have to disclose that.
Councilman Hilliard?
So I didn't hear your answer. If we were to change this, will it just be for that acre or will it change that whole area?
It would be for those 3 lots, which is approximately an acre, a little bit less.
Okay, so if he bought the kennel next door with the intent of putting an apartment complex?
Would have to rezone.
He would have to rezone. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? All right. All those in favor of approving item number 10, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is.
I'm sorry, Mayor, who opposed?
You got it? All right. Motion passes. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 11?
Yes, sir. Item number 11 is to consider an ordinance authorizing a specific use permit to allow a parking lot to serve a church within an RS residential single-family dwelling district for property located at 3595 Grand Street on Hale Lane. At a joint public hearing held on April 20th, 2026, the Planning Commission recommended 8-0 to approve the request for this parking lot with the following conditions. Number 1, construction plans must meet all requirements by water utilities for water and sanitary sewer services, including any requirements of the city's backflow pre-treatment and/or fog program. No structures or appurtenances may be placed on city property. Number 3, an increase in pervious cover by more than 0.25 acres shall be compliant with the detention requirements by Drainage District Number 6. All lighting installed shall be directionally shielded from the residential properties to the north, east, and south of the subject site. And finally, driveways shall be compliant with the IFC 2021, Chapter 5, Section 503 and Appendix D, with access width and radius requirements for emergency access. The administration is recommending approval of this request with the same conditions.
All right, is there a motion for item number 11?
So moved.
There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 11. Is there any discussion or is there any questions? All those in favor of approving item number 11, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 12?
Sir, item number 12 is to consider an ordinance authorizing a specific use permit to allow a strip center to have restaurants, retail, professional services, and a washateria within a GCMD 2 General Commercial Multifamily Dwelling 2 district for property located at 2845 North Major Drive. At a joint public hearing held on April 20, 2026, the Planning Commission recommended 6-1 with 1 abstention to approve the request for a specific use permit to allow a strip center to have restaurants, retail, professional services, and a washateria at this location with the following condition. Condition 1, construction plans must meet all requirements by water utilities for any water and sanitary sewer improvements, including any requirements of the city's backflow pretreatment and/or fog program. Condition 2 is construction shall comply with the Drainage District Number 6 drainage criteria. And condition number 3, all lighting installed shall be directionally shielded away from the residential properties to the east and south. The administration recommends approval of this request with the same conditions.
There is a motion for item number 12. There is a second. There is a question, Councilman Turner.
Not a question, just Mr. Manager, can you kind of let me know what area this is in? I'm trying to imagine the address in my head. What is it
Yes,
by?
sir. So it's major, just north of
Crystals?
Village.
Okay, cool. All
Yeah,
right,
Crystals.
Right.
okay.
That's right.
There's no other questions or discussions. All those in favor of approving item number 12, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Item is passed. Mr. City Manager, may we have the reading of item number 13?
Sir, item number 13 is to consider an ordinance authorizing a specific use permit to allow a duplex within an RS residential single-family dwelling district for property located at 160 Sparrow Way. At a joint public hearing held on April 20th, 2026, Planning Commission recommended approval of this item with the following condition. Number one, construction plans must meet all requirements by water utilities for water and sanitary sewer services, including any requirements of the city's backflow pretreatment and/or fog program. The administration recommends approval with this condition.
All right, is there a motion for item number 13?
Second.
There is a motion and a second for approval of item number 13. Is there any questions or discussions? All those in favor of approving item number 13, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, we're going to do the public hearing. If you'd take us into on item number 16, please.
Yes, sir.
It will be coming back to the work session.
So item number 16 is a public hearing to conduct a public hearing to receive comments to develop a landscaped greenway project along Phelan Boulevard at Dallin Road to be named Allison's Greenway.
All right, the public hearing is now open. Has anybody signed up to talk?
I don't have anyone unless Lori, or did you want to speak?
And that would be a good, Lori Leister, Beautify Beaumont.
Yes, I'm Lori Leister, 1240 Wilchester Circle here in Beaumont. I spoke with you all, excuse me, a few weeks ago about this project, and it's to develop a greenway on the west side of the intersection of Dallin Road and Phelan Boulevard. And the plan is to put up a sign, and I believe you probably in your packet have a picture of the amended sign, and with landscaping around the sign, and then one or two little landscaped areas with trees and flowers beyond that. And do you all have any questions of me?
Councilman Williams?
Is this going to be closer to the intersection? I see it says at Dallin Road, so is it going to be right there at the?
I believe so. I would like Kenneth Reggett to give us some input on that. I think it depends on how the city's going to get their water truck in and do the watering on exactly where that will be.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I don't believe so. Thank you. Anybody else for any public comments in the public hearing? All right, with that, the public hearing is closed, and would you take us into item number 16?
Yes, sir. Item number 16 is to consider a resolution approving a landscape greenway and naming of the greenway as Allison's Greenway, and the administration recommends approval.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second for approval. Is there any questions or discussion on item number 16? All those in favor of approving item number 16, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. All right, Mr. City Manager, we're going to go back to the work session, if you would, and take us into the work session.
Yes, sir. The work session is a work session entitled to review and discuss the 2026 Annual Action Plan, Consolidated Budget, and we have Jess Prince who will make the presentation.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It is time again for the annual action plan. This plan, as you can see in your budget packet, covers the 2 entitlement funds that we receive annually from HUD. These are our Community Development Block Grant funds and our home funds. So this is our consolidated budget for the action plan of 2026. Reminder, our program year for this always runs July 1 through June 30th. And so we recently, last year, if you recall, adopted an updated consolidated plan. This is a requirement with HUD. It's a 5-year period where we do a great deal of stakeholder engagement to determine what we want our priorities to be for the next 5 years. And so an overview of that, item number 1, provide decent, safe, affordable housing, create suitable living environments, and to provide public services for the low-income, low-moderate households. So one thing I'd like to say to that point, every single activity that we name in our annual action plan has to fall within the categories that we outline in our con plan every 5 years. So in order for a project to be eligible for these budgets, it has to meet at least one of 3 national objectives that are identified by HUD. Those are to benefit low-income households, removal of slum and blight, and an urgent need. Examples of this on our budgets, obviously all of our activities are benefiting low to moderate income households, but a example of removal of slum and blight may be our clearance and demolition program. It may also be our minor repair program, where we're working with homeowners, predominantly they are seniors, and we're helping to mitigate something about their home that is unsafe. So here is our consolidated budget. We brought this to you all for public hearing on April 7th. We are required to do a 30-day comment period, and so we did a publication back in March. The comment period closed in April, and this is our budget that would be submitted for our annual action plan. As you can see, our total entitlement for CDBG is $1,345,120. Our home funds total is $478,666. Now, of each of these programs, we have some caps. We have the administration of these programs, which is city staff, planning activities. Those are all capped at 20% for CDBG. Our public services component, which is our CDBG reimbursement grant that the nonprofits apply for each year, is capped at 15%. And so I'm going to go over that program first, and then we'll touch on the home funds. But as you can see, this budget is very similar to our last year's budget. We always have funding for clearance and demolition, for our owner-occupied minor repair program, for our public services, and we estimate our program income, and that's typically tied to our clearance and demolition program. So that is just kind of a moving figure, but it's not included in our entitlement. Of note, this year, we have had such an increase in interest and in application for our owner-occupied minor repair program that the last 2 years, we've allocated more money to that program to address our wait list. Any questions on that so far? Yes.
Councilwoman.
When you say we allocated more money to it from our program, where did that money come from?
So we get our annual allocation. In this case, it's the 1.3. In the past, there may have been more funds allocated to clearance and demolition or more funds allocated to our special project. Sometimes that's to be determined. Sometimes there's a specific project. The last 2 years, though, we've reduced clearance and demolition funding and put more toward the minor repair program because we have a wait list of so many residents that need that assistance. Yes.
Councilman Turner, go ahead.
Just about 3 questions. For first-time home buyers, does any funding come out of this program for our first-time home buyers?
That's going to be in our home fund section, and I will touch on that.
Okay, I don't want to jump too far ahead. So,
Several slides.
to be determined funding, that's something that's coming in the future too?
Yes.
All right, well, I'll reserve my questions for the end then.
All right.
You know I watch the money.
I know you do, and so do I. So our CDBG home, this is just a general picture. So you look at our clearance and demolition line item, 215. That's going to be approximately 52 structures that are being, slum and blight removal, national objective. Our minor repair program, that's approximately 25 homes that are going to be assisted with that funding. Public services, we have a cap on that HUD mandates. So our $200,000 that we set aside for that, in the case of this particular budget and the approval or recommendations of the committee, our CDAC that you all appoint, that's 15 agencies being funded. And then for our home line item, that we're doing 10 houses for the first-time homebuyer program, Councilman Turner, and the remainder would be for the development of affordable housing, and that's approximately 2 units based on the dollars. Any questions?
Councilman Turner.
Can we just get some feedback on the first-time homebuyer program? I know it has to be under a certain threshold. Can you kind of explain it so just the community and people understand how can you even qualify for it?
Yes, so obviously you do have to be a first-time homebuyer, number one. All of our programs have an income eligibility component, and so our applicants, whether they're the first-time homebuyer program or our owner-occupied minor repair, we are collecting from them a lot of information. They're giving us bank statements, they're giving us pay stubs, they're giving us any benefits that they may receive on a regular basis. And they're also attesting to how many people are in the home, because if you've ever seen our website chart, HUD publishes each year what the income limits are, and they're based on how many people are in your house. So what you're earning, and then looking at the number of people in the house, we then determine your eligibility, whether or not you are qualifying as low mod by HUD's limits. So that's number two. Then, for our first-time homebuyer specifically, you have to have completed a homebuyer education course with whomever you choose. You also have to have been pre-approved by a lender in advance. And that means that your credit score and all of your finances have already been deemed eligible for a mortgage. And so at that point, I'll tell you, a lot of times we have an applicant that may already be working with a realtor. They may have already identified a property, but we advise that they don't do that if they want to use our funding until they've actually gone through our program, been qualified, because as you know, a residential contract has a lot of dates that you have to adhere to. And if you're already under contract and we don't have funding and you rely on our funding to close, that may be a problem. And so we do advise that they wait to put a home under contract if they are reliant upon our funding.
Okay.
Yes.
Councilwoman.
So I'm looking at your line items. What is the process for distributing this money? Who's determining how this is being distributed, broken down this way?
A lot of it is, again, based on our consolidated plan. And so we have a large series of public meetings. We have stakeholders. We have a survey. People are coming and they're saying, these are the items or the activities or programs that we want to see funded. And that process occurred last year for the next 5 years. And so these do deviate from time to time, but for example, our minor repair project is very, very popular and it's very needed. And so does it get the same amount of money every year? No. Some years we don't have a wait list, and so we don't need to put as much funding toward it. But in other years, maybe we've put too much in clearance and demolition. We don't have that many structures to do, and so it's flexible in that way.
Okay, I have a question about the development. So what when you say development of affordable housing, because we get a lot of questions about CDBG grant funds and people think they can just do all sorts of things.
Right.
When, or we can
And they
do it,
call
yeah.
us as well.
Yeah, so can you give us a little snippet of the development portion and how this money is distributed?
Yes. So, do you want me to skip ahead to that part? Okay. So no, but to Councilman Turner's question, you had mentioned the to be determined line item in several meetings. So here are examples of CDBG funding that we have used for a public facility and improvement project. That could be increasing minor repair. It could be minor repair to some sort of public facility that is throughout the city. There's an example of the Avenue C drainage project. We partnered with Public Works last year to fix some drainage in a neighborhood in the avenues with CDBG funding. The Charlton Pollard Park that you've recently approved a lease on for Garden Project. We're using some funds for improvements to their parking lot. There's a project in process that may work for bus stop improvements. We've also done emergency food and security grants, for example, last year when funds were frozen and we had a lot of hungry people. That's something that, is a to be determined kind of thing. Also shelter facilities. We have the Salvation Army shelter facility. We also have family services, and we have a new non-congregate shelter. In the event, in the past, we've had some improvements that were needed to maintain those facilities or increase capacity, for example. We've allocated CDBG funds for that. Potential CDBG funding that we could do in the future. You brought up tree removal.
Yes,
You're
well, I
getting
got some
a lot-
senior citizens that have been
Yes.
on me for years about this.
Okay, well, that is a potential project, but I'd like to preface that by saying it would be something that we would have to bid competitively. It would be something that is a reimbursement basis. It would be an activity where we would have to income qualify them. And in the past, I'm not saying it isn't doable, but there would be components to setting it up correctly. It is something that is included in our existing consolidated plan for the next 5 years. But in the past, for example, there was a project that was proposed. I believe it had to do with a sewer line improvement. We had problems with that because the property owner does not qualify as low income, but the tenant did. And it's a reimbursement project. So that's something we would have to consider for any of these property owners that may hypothetically have trees removed. All of these things, the national objectives, the reimbursement, all of that would apply. And so it is a possibility, but we would have to build all of those regulations in. Public Works, future improvements to such as the drainage project we just did, that's a potential going forward. Community gardens, Charlton Pollard just got their project off the ground after a very long time, and Delilah Johnson has another project. Infrastructure to those facilities, they're serving low-income populations, they're in low-income census tracts. There are things that we can do for those projects and others. That's a potential. Additional bus shelters throughout the city are needed, and helping transit with the installation of those shelters is a potential project. Economic development pieces like micro grants or facade improvements or workforce development, those are all things that you can do with CDBG, potentially. And we do put a lot of flexibility into our consolidated plan so that we're having big picture goals, and then we come back each year with our annual action plan and specify what it is we want to do with that particular program year funding. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and even if not the whole tree removal, just the limbs, like that's kind of coming on their homes, but that's just one thing they've just been consistently asking about.
Yeah. And like, for example, with our owner occupied minor repair, those homeowners are qualifying for up to $24,999 in improvements. There's a reason for that. There are thresholds to federal funding. So if you're granting up to 25,000, the affordability period is 5 years. If you exceed that, it goes to 10 years. And so how long do you want to hold a homeowner in the affordability period for a project?
Jess, can you explain what affordability period means?
Yes. So when I say affordability period, for example, our homeowner, first-time homeowner program, that affordability period, because it is less than $15,000 that they're receiving in assistance, is 5 years. That means that they have to reside in the home for 5 years. If they sell the home or they foreclose, they have to, there's a recapture or resale provision that's making sure that they sell to another income eligible property owner so that the federal funding is still meeting all of the requirements. So specific to our CDBG reimbursement grant, which is only for nonprofits offering public services to low-income households. The process for that is an annual application. We open our portal November 1st every year, and we leave it open through January 31st. It's a reimbursement grant. The cap for that project is $20,000. So if you apply for 20, you have to have the means to spend that up front in the program year and then be reimbursed later. Now, this is a pretty it's a pretty robust program. We have had in the past a very paper version of this program, but since 2023, we've gone virtual. We've had more time for them to apply. We've done a lot of marketing. We've done a lot of outreach. We have created an online survey for them to give feedback. And so we also have orientation videos that are online. They're twice a year in person. And to your point earlier, Councilman Turner, when you say how do new agencies, break through and learn more about how the process works, I receive calls weekly about this program. I spend a whole lot of time walking people through the website, but I also invite them to come up to the planning counter. We have computer monitors. We walk them through where the application is, what it looks like, where the orientation videos are on the website, which also walk them through every step of the process, through the program timelines. We do a lot of technical assistance throughout the application required documents that they're uploading. And so it is a lot of one-on-one. I have a lot of meetings in my office. People come up and say, hey, we want to know more about this. They don't have an appointment. We bring them back. We walk them through it. So all year long, we're talking with nonprofits, but we only accept applications November through January. That is really based on our HUD program year because we can't deviate from that schedule. So the projects, once they apply, are all screened for eligibility, meaning they've met one of the 3 national objectives. And then we take those projects to the CDAC, who you have all appointed. And so we had the scoring meeting for this year on March 23rd. On March 18th, we had a public meeting where all of the applicants were invited to come and present to the committee who sat where you're sitting now, and they could present their project. They also submitted a video, which you all received a link for, that outlines their project. And so the CDAC scored them. And what does that look like? That looks like them reviewing the projects and thinking about what has the council expressed as a priority in the community. For example, homelessness or youth programs, reducing crime, food insecurity, community gardens. And then they look at how many people are these agencies proposing to assist within the program year versus how much money they're asking for. And 20% is the cap. So that's similar to the hot tax. They're looking at impact. And they're also looking at first-time applicants versus someone who's been funded every year for 15 years, okay? Now I'm here, this is the last bullet point, council is adopting our plan. When we adopt this plan, we have to submit it to HUD. It's not approved because of our resolution. They have to approve it as well. So Any questions going back to this CDBG process? I will tell you for this year, we got 28 applications. We had 11 first-time applicants, which is great. The agencies that are recommended to you for funding by your committee appointees are a total of 15, 4 of which are first-time applicants. No one received their full request of $20,000. Any questions?
The Chodo funding.
That's
that's
next.
That's reserved? I thought you were done.
Nope, just
Okay.
CDBG.
All right.
Got you though.
Okay.
Chodo fund, oh wait, anyone else? Questions on CDBG? Okay. So home funding, Chodo activity examples. Now, when you look at your budget packet, which was this, and you had that in the beginning, right here, under home funds, you see Chodo reserve. That is mandated by HUD. We have to set aside 15% of our home allocation every year for affordable housing development activities, okay? What does Chodo stand for? Community Housing Development Organization. Not every developer is a Chodo. You have to be certified as a Chodo through the city, and then you're eligible to bid on our RFP for the money, okay? So, what are examples of those activities? We can do an acquisition, rehab, resale of an affordable housing unit to an eligible buyer. Does that buyer have to be our first-time home buyer? No, but they almost always are. The other activity can be new construction of affordable housing for an eligible tenant or buyer. So for example, Tracy has mentioned the last 2 meetings, we have the Habitat build that's coming up. And we have 2 new single-family homes being constructed. This is our Chodo project for 2024. Habitat was awarded, they are building these houses on land that they already owned, which meets a good requirement for us because the city is required to match 25% of our home allocation. And so typically that's done through our Chodo project, okay? Any questions here? Now, can a Chodo activity fund, the 15%, can it be allocated anywhere else? No, it cannot. It has to be on the development of affordable housing in some capacity. Now, I will say, if you saw the budget, that the money right there, the 15%, that's 72,000, we're rounding up. What can you do with 72,000 in terms of developing? Not much. So what we can do is take this money and our 2025 money and layer it together and put that amount out for RFP and get a bigger project that's actually feasible, okay? Because our home funds have been reduced about $100,000 the last 5 years in a row. So we're now down to not even $500,000. Yeah. So what does affordable mean? You hear affordable housing a lot. It has a lot of negative connotations. What does it mean in terms of HUD's definition? That means that the housing costs do not exceed 30% of your household income. That could be for rent, that could be your mortgage, it doesn't matter. If it's exceeding 30% of your annual income, it is not affordable by HUD's terms. Our Chodo set-aside is always 15%. Now, can we give more? Could we give them the whole home set-aside, the whole home fund? Yes, we could. But the 15 is the minimum that we have to set aside for that. And how are Chodos selected? Competitive bid. We put it through RFP. It's up to us to say if we wanted specifically the development of cottage-style units, like we talked to our low-income housing developers about in our matrix. We could say that. If we owned a piece of property that was several acres and we wanted cluster-style development, like Demi mentioned earlier, that has a smaller lot size, we could specify that. It's actually council's mandate, but how they are selected and what we want to do with it has to go through RFP.
A question. So With this Chodo fund money or the way this process works, they help or incentivize with this through, or is this?
Not at the moment, but hypothetically we could. And so, and we have in the past.
Okay,
Yes.
we'll check.
But it all depends on what we've said our priorities are in the consolidated plan and what the project is doing. So if it is in alignment with that, which is a planning process, and there was something specific we wanted to achieve, we could plan 5 years in advance and say, here's what we want to do. Okay? So the requirements for these funds, again, they must be in the 5-year consolidated plan. It's a reimbursement, out-of-pocket expense up front. Applicants have to be income qualified for every single project, and environmental reviews have to be completed on every single dollar. So each owner of minor repair that's getting repaired has to have an environmental review. Every home that's purchased for the first-time home buyer has to have an environmental review. All of the nonprofits we work with, the streets project we did to be determined, the community garden, they all have to have environmental review. And that would show us if there's a flooding issue or something to be concerned about, because you can't spend federal funding on something that can't pass an environmental review. If the council would like to address a specific project in our annual action plan, which of course this year this is it, but for 2027, for example, please just let staff know by October the 5th each year what that may be, because this whole process started in July because of the way our program year runs. And so we need advance notice of anything that you may want to try to work out. The tree removal, for example, that Councilman Turner brought up, that can fall under a to be determined, and that's why we have that line item in the budget. But if it were a very, very specific activity, we would appreciate, just let us know by October the 5th.
It can't?
No.
We can do sewage, but we can't do buildings?
No, and the reason why is because they have to qualify as low-income households.
And that's considered a normal operation of city business. Jess, you also touch on the timeline of when we get notified of the amount we're awarded from HUD.
So that changes every year. It's a very fun process. For example, this year, we brought the public hearing to you guys with a preliminary budget. The council packet was all submitted, and we had that meeting on the 7th of April. On April 3rd, we got our allocation letter that told us how much we're actually getting so that we could put the final budget together for this meeting today. But in the past, we may have gotten it 3 months in advance. And so it's a moving target. And last year, it was so late that we actually didn't get to do this until June, and they had to issue a waiver on our timeline. But this year, it's due in May, and so here we are. But that's it. That's the work session.
Thank you.
Anything I did not cover, you have a question about? Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, would you, may we have the reading of item number
14. Yes, sir. Item number 14 is to consider a resolution adopting the 2026 annual action plan. And Ms. Prince just covered that in detail. So administration recommends approval.
Is there a motion for item number 14?
Second.
There's a motion and a second for approval of item 14. Any questions or discussions? All those in favor of approving item number 14, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is carried. Mr. City Manager, would you take us into the public hearing?
Yes, sir. This public hearing is to consider an ordinance to declare the following 50 structures to be unsafe structures and order the owners to raise the said structures within 10 days. If the property owner fails to comply within 10 days, staff is requesting City Council's authorization to demolish these structures without further notification to the property owner or City Council action. Additionally, if the property owner of a structure requests and is authorized by city council to enroll in a work program, all delinquent taxes shall be paid in full, or a payment plan shall be established prior to the enrollment in the work program. Enrollment in the work program shall occur within 10 days after the effective date of the ordinance. And we now need to open the public hearing.
Mayor Pro Tem, you need to open the meeting, please. Public
Yes,
hearing,
that's what I
please.
was gonna ask at this time. Can we open the public hearing?
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. The structures before you today have been found to be unsafe as defined by our ordinances. I do ask that we remove structure number 28, which is located at 2121 McFadden. A new owner assumed the building on May 1st, and as such, that new owner should be afforded their due process. So I do ask that number 28 be removed from the ordinance. Thank you.
Hope not.
Are we ready? I think it's Gurnett Carrier, 1995 Calder Avenue, Beaumont, Texas, item number 7.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And Mayor West. Item 7.
So this is item number 15, but it's structure number 7 on the staff memo.
Okay. So what I would want to do, I've had several offers on the property, but I'm not sure, kind of attached to the property because I waited until I was 70 to start my business there, and I've had the building over almost 20 years. So I'm kind of undecided whether I want to rebuild or refurbish. So I'm not sure still what I want to do. I'm kind of partial to my building.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, can you state your name for the record again?
My name is Gurnett Wanda Carrier.
Ms. Carrier, the options today is if you wanted the council to allow you to enter into a work program.
Well, I'd like to enter into a work program.
Okay. So let's just go through the staff questions. Are the taxes current on the property?
All right. Thank you.
If you don't have anything else
Yeah,
to add, we'll move on to the next item.
Yes, ma'am.
Because y'all act like y'all want to be here today.
Chad Harris, 1255 Church Street and 4380 Congress, Beaumont, Texas.
And just as he comes to the mic, it'll be the same process. If you want to enter into a work program, that'll be your request to council. If there are any back taxes, council will need an affirmative yes that you're willing to enter into paying that off, and I'll turn it over.
So as far as 1255 Church Street, the taxes are current on it, and I would like to enter into a work program on it.
That's number 8, Councilman.
Yes, I'm sorry, item number 8.
And the gentleman said that the taxes are current and he'd like to enter into a work program. Does council have any questions?
Any questions? All right.
Are you gonna remodel this?
Yeah, I've owned the house for probably 23 plus years. And unfortunately, when I bought it, it had the contractor's version of Spanx. It had vinyl siding on it and it hit everything. Lady moved out and then we kind of went into it, and I mean, you know, it's one of these, you do a repair here, repair there, but you know, obviously the water had been leaking down inside the walls and the windows for years. So we've already done I pulled my permit, I did the demo with the city, and now I'm just gonna go back with my work program and it'll be brought up to code.
Thank you.
He also has a second property, 4380 Congress, item number 11.
40, item number 11. What's the address?
Number 11. It's number 11.
Yep. Okay, so this one, same thing, taxes are current, fire happened. And I've just got to, it's a matter of time just to get in there and rehab it. I mean, the structure's actually very sound for looking like it does, but the taxes are current, and I do plan on entering into a work program.
In our records, it looks like the taxes owed for 4380 Congress are $1,086.70.
Okay, I'll have to go back and check, because I send him one check every year for 80 properties, so.
Yeah, would you be able to update it if?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'll go down there tomorrow and pay the taxes, because it should have been, I mean.
Right.
I pay $120,000 a year to Jefferson County, so.
We appreciate it.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah, Councilman Turner.
For your two properties, I know you got several, but for those two, how long have they been vacant?
The one on Church Street's probably been about 8 months.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, because, I mean, I've slept since then, but the one on Congress, it was back in late 2025, because it actually happened during, it was a Monday night football game that caught on fire, so.
Mayor, just for the record, 1255 Church, it looks like it was red tagged in September of 2024. And then number 11 was red tagged in Halloween of 2025.
So if Church was red tagged in 2024, and was there a work program at that point?
Silas, could you come up?
Probably.
Silas Clutter, our demolition coordinator.
So Church, yes, he did sign a work program on Congress. On Congress, there was not.
Okay, but on Church, so there was a work program, so we've already been down this road before, and what happened?
There was not sufficient progress to be made according to the building officials, which is why we brought it before council.
Okay.
And I did fill out a work program, just in my defense. I filled out the work program so I could demo the house. Neighbor acted like he was gonna buy it, so I moved in a dumpster, tore off all the siding, gutted the inside, removed the HVAC, all the wiring, removed everything that, basically would get stolen. And then the guy backed out on me. I've tried to sell it to 2 or 3 different people, but, this is not something that you can go to a bank and get financing. You either gotta have cash in hand or get a hard money loan, and, a lot of these buyers just don't know how to do that. So, I mean, if my hands are forced, I'll rehab it. Like I said, I was just trying to sell it as is currently, but, I mean, I'll enter the work program and start the work back up on it, because obviously I don't want it torn down, so. Well, I'll extend it then.
Yeah, he was talking about the dumpster.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're looking at this time, you had a different plan at that point.
Yes, obviously at the time, like I said, I had to demo it. I wanted to get, I went down to the city, pulled my permit, moved in a dumpster, demoed all the stuff so a buyer could potentially come in and see what they were dealing with. But I've had several buyers that, like I said, just didn't come through, had it on a contract, just so. But yes, I would like to enter into a work program. I'll go down there and check my records for the taxes for Congress. I'll pay the taxes if they're due, and then we'll enter into a work program on both of them.
Items 8 and 11, 1255 Church and 5380 Congress. Yeah, Councilman Turner.
Can we require proof that something's happened in 60 days, or we have to come back?
So typically our work programs are structured where within 90 days, they need to dry in at least. So that's like making sure the roof is in place, the windows are there. And then from thereafter, they have to show progress on that. And Silas, if I've missed anything,
60 days. So they have 150 days to complete the work program.
But that applies even to people that have already had a work program before? I mean,
So I just want to clarify, because I think there may be a little bit of confusion. So when we red tag a property, the city red tags a property, They give them time to abate. If it's not abated, then we go into basically the possibility of them entering into what's called a pre-council work program. So if you look on your staff report, it's one of the issues is, or one of the things written down in the report is owner enrolled in a pre-council work program. Sometimes that's confusing. So if you don't comply with the pre-council work program, which is an administrative action, then that's what it's not repaired, then that's what brings it before council. And then now today, either we're going to tear it down by y'all's order, or you could offer basically a post-council work program. But again, going back to your question, Councilman Crenshaw, they've got 90 days to dry it in. If they are able to enter into the work program, and an additional 60 days to get a CO. So they've got to have the entire project complete within 150 days.
And this doesn't come back to council if they fail to meet the conditions to either enroll timely into the work program, pay the taxes to be eligible to roll into the tax program. This ordinance allows the city to package it for demolition. So it doesn't come back.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Jim Stokes, 1662 Creekside Drive, Sugar Land, Texas, 855 North 3rd Street, number 34 on the list.
34. Sir.
Mayor West and Council, I'd like to get into the work program on this. I did have one last year, but I had a buyer that had some contractors come out and they didn't think it was really worth the expense of trying to rehab it. But that sale fell through, and currently got a sale in line where they had budgeted improvements to the house in front of it. I own two houses at Hazel and 3rd Street, and this is the garage to that, to 1912. And there's a garage apartment on top. So anyway, they budgeted to rehab the whole thing. So I'm like to get it back into the work program to keep it from being demolished.
So you're looking to sell it in that time frame and then have them finish that? Or are you planning on doing the work?
Well, I will probably get started on it. Then we'll have to get another permit, I think, right? If it's sold.
Right.
Because that's what they told me, because I thought I was going to sell it a year ago. But I plan to that's why I didn't really move forward last time, is because I thought it was about to be sold. But
right.
But we'll go ahead and get started on that. We've got some money budgeted for that.
Okay. Any taxes owed?
It's like they're current.
Okay. Councilman Turner?
So for clarity, you're looking to redevelop it or you're looking to sell it? Proposed plans.
Well, frankly, a bit of both. Selling it to a partner of mine that I will probably continue to be involved with it.
What we're asking is, we'd be giving you the work program for 150 days. Do you plan on completing it or not? I think that's what we're asking.
I mean, it would probably be sold before that 150 days is up. Now, I guess they would have to get a new permit. I'm not quite sure.
Just a point of clarification, just by selling the property does not restart the clock.
Oh, it does not?
No, sir.
So this is a public hearing, which means the public is on notice that this property has been declared a public nuisance and it's being packaged for turn down. So it's almost a buyer beware. So if a buyer would purchase the property now, they'd be bound by the same terms as the 150 agreement. They're buying that's gonna run with the property.
Gotcha.
That shouldn't pose a problem. Actually, when I bought the property 25 years ago, it was red tagged at the time, so I had to step in and start fixing it up myself then.
All right. We might see if it wins for the most red tags. So.
I hope not.
All right. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Jimmy Jolivet, 1685 LG, Beaumont, Texas. The property is 5745, I think that's Sunny Circle? Surrey Circle, Surrey Circle? Surrey Circle, number 46.
Mayor, Council, I'm Deborah Bernard. I'm here concerning 5745 Surrey Circle, and I'd like your consideration for a rope work program.
So
The home was. I'm going to get it out. My son died in August last year.
Unexpectedly, he had a stroke.
Yes.
He was in ICU for 19 days, unconscious, and he wasn't sick, anything like that. He had been working on the home and everything. If you can see from previous photos or whatever, he painted it, did what he could to the roof. He had a full-time job. So on top of that full-time job, he would come and make sure the house was, he worked on it, as you can see in the photos, trying to get it in compliance because he did plan on moving into the home. Doing that, and I understand this is not an excuse session, but we're just telling you what, when he passed away, at this point, we have not found a will. He does have a daughter, and she is in school. He paid for her to go through school and everything, and she is of 22, 23 years old. So these things are not something that she can just take on herself. I work out of town, I work out of state, I work for the railroad. I have my own things that I have to do. My mother, she's retired, and we do what we can. We keep the property in compliance, we cut the grass and everything. And until we figure out what is what, we would like to do what we can to get it, get an extension so we can be able to give it to his daughter, the right way. And I know that this situation is not unique, not having a will and everything like that, but we're not trying to run a slumlord thing, take anything away from anybody. But the thing is, he was in the middle of working on it, and, we're just trying to get an extension to do what we can to get it in compliance with the neighborhood.
So in other words, we're asking to get in the work program and finish what he couldn't finish. He was employed with Williams Brothers. They're the ones that do all the construction that we're all angry about. So he get off, try to go do some work. And a lot of times when he get off, they'd have him go back at midnight. And his area was from Winnie, Beaumont, Orange, Port Arthur. Yeah, to the state line. And they would put him up in the hotel when they work at night. And they put him up in the hotel. So it was real hard for him to get back. And that bogged him down. And I feel like the stress of all of that in trying to do the house, he had a fatal.
Yes, ma'am. You have a question, Councilman?
Just kind of explaining the process. If the work program is extended, y'all do understand if it's tagged and progress isn't made, it still can be possibly knocked down in the future. I just want to make sure y'all understood that.
Exactly.
Right, we're just trying to do what we can to get it in compliance so it's not out of compliance, and I don't live there, that's in the north, and I live in the Parachute.
Okay.
We're not trying to take away from the residents of that area. We want to have it there, respect them, have a decent home in the neighborhood.
Thank you. And taxes are paid?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Is she Deborah Bernard? I'm sorry, Mayor, just. Those were two green slips for the same property, mother and son.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
I was going to remind you to turn your mic on.
Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we had, I know I stepped out for the first property.
Mayor, we have 7 that owes taxes, 8, 11 that owes taxes, 28 has been removed, 34 and 46.
Okay.
Please keep in mind that any motion to include 7 and 11 would also need to include that they comply with the taxes.
Pay their taxes. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 properties.
I thought it was
Yes.
5,
Well,
Shirley.
5 for the work program and remove structure number 28.
Yeah, so 28 is just removed, just making sure that that was noted on the
So
record.
7, 8, 11, 34, and 46. Yes, Council.
7, 8, 11, 34, 46, yes, sir. Oh, before Councilman Crenshaw does his thing, property 46 would also need a special condition that individuals, the mother and I believe the brother who spoke earlier said that they were speaking on behalf of the deceased during the probate process. Only the owner of the property can enter into the work program. It sounds like his daughter is an adult over the age of 18 if she's off at school. So that would need to be her unless she's a minor, in which case it would revert back to his next of kin under intestate law, would either be his mother or his father.
And he indicated she was 22.
So
we can follow up with
if she's over the age of 18, that would be, and if she is the only surviving child, they would just need to, the stipulation would need to be that the property would need to go through probate to identify the legal owner of the property before entering into the work program.
All right. Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion and I'm gonna need some help probably. So I'll make a motion to approve with the, stipulations and removals and tax requirements, as stated by the city attorney. However, my motion does not include a work program for the 2 properties that previously had work programs that were not complied with. So my motion is to approve, but not to include the church property and the North Third property with an additional work program.
So that would be properties number 8 and 34. So the motion would be for properties 7, 11, and 46 to enter into a work program with property number 11 having to satisfy the taxes prior to being able to do so, and property 46 being able to satisfy probate ownership requirements prior to entering into the work program. Is that correct?
That is exactly what my motion is.
All right, is there a second on that motion?
Second.
All right, there is a
I'm
motion.
sorry, who's second? I'll go with Councilmember Sherwood.
All right, so we now have a motion and a second, which includes 3 properties, correct? Yeah. 7, 34, and 46.
For 46,
We need,
the ordinance as it's written says within 10 days. Is there any extension of time for them to work out probate? I'm not sure what an appropriate time frame would be for something like that.
So probate takes a while. So obviously, it depending on where they are, like he didn't have a will, so if he died intestate, it's presumed that his daughter is the legal owner of the property. And so the city could take a affidavit of heirship saying from someone to attest that she is the only heir, that he doesn't have any additional children, and that she is the lone surviving heir. And the city could accept that. As a legal advisor, I would tell you that that is a legally acceptable document, and then that would allow them to enter into the work program and also do the probate process simultaneously.
You think 90 days would be enough to do that?
Affidavit of heirship can be done in a day if he doesn't have any additional children, and I believe his mother would know. There is a posting requirement of notice for that. So if council wants the full shebang to ensure, but there's nothing in our ordinance or in our procedures that said one of the property owners couldn't enter. So if she is his biological daughter, regardless if he had other children, she is still entitled to enter into the work program. So an affidavit of heirship wouldn't be saying she is the lone heir, it would be saying she is an heir. And that would, like I said, still allow them to go through the probate process to do that. So that wouldn't encumber the 10-day period. They could literally go to a notary.
What about the notice requirement?
That only occurs for the probate process. So as a surviving heir, she can go to a notary public and get a affidavit of heirship done saying that she is his daughter, present her birth certificate and say that she's entitled to inherit from him. Once they enter into the probate process, other heirs could come forward, but that wouldn't prohibit her from doing rehab on the property. It would just mean if she ever sold the property, she would have to divide it amongst the other surviving heirs.
All right, I still would like to give those people at least 30 days to get that done. I just, 10 days is quick, and it seems like the heir may be out of town and at school. So let's at least give them 30 days to get that done, please. So do I need to amend my motion?
Yes, sir.
So I amend my motion on property 46 to include 30 days to provide the affidavit of heirship.
Good with that, Councilwoman?
I had a question.
Yeah.
So I just did probate and a affidavit of heirship, and that probate took 90 days. I filed in February, and in November, and I closed it in February. So it took all the heirs are here, but you can do and I did do that affidavit of heirship online with an attorney. So that was just to let y'all know that.
And I'm fine with the 90, but it sounds like it can get done because it doesn't have to be probated. It doesn't have to be the heir. It just has to be a heir. So, but I'm not opposed to the 90 days, but I think 30 should be fine.
I think that 90 days would be for probate to be complete, and if that's something that council wants, is for a complete probated process. But what I'm telling you is that there's nothing that says that an individual heir, even if there are multiple heirs, aren't allowed to enter into a work program. The ordinance just says a owner. So whether it's one owner or multiple owners, a owner can enter into it. And so with a document stating affidavit of heirship, the surviving heir or heirs should be able to enter into a work program with that. And it doesn't take, like I said, it's a form online. It doesn't take long, but I think 30 days is sufficient just to allow them to make those arrangements.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney. And Councilman Duria.
Does do we also have to put in there in the motion, we're gonna let these three go into work programs, but don't we have to put in that the rest of them be demolished?
So that's given. So the approval of the ordinance is, so Councilman Crenshaw's motion is to approve of the ordinance with the exception that these properties be entered into a work program. That is the recommendation before council. So all the motion does is pull out items 7, 11, and 46 and give them special consideration under section 3 of the ordinance that they be allowed to enter into a work program. All other properties will be demolished within 10 days up and unless they file a TRO or some other protective documents. They
can get a TRO.
They can get a TRO, they can sell the property, they can do anything to prevent that, but it takes a while for us to package it, so they do.
So, Demi, so you think, so this will be, how many properties supposed to be demolishing within 10 days?
So how it goes is the property owner, that property owner has to demolish within 10 days. If they fail to do so, then the city will mobilize. So what that means is we have to go out for RFP. We have to follow our processes. That's a few months down the line. So they have time to demolish. And if they wanted to bring it back, then of course they could seek a TRO and they can go through a work program through the district judge.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Everybody clear on the motion? All those in favor of item number 15 as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
What do we have?
Was structure number 28 removed from the ordinance?
Section 28 has been removed from the ordinance. It was stated on the record and it was mentioned in the thing. So the approval of the ordinance does not include.
And I wasn't telling the mayor to hold up, by the way. Everyone else.
Sorry.
The recommendation does not include 28.
All
Did we close the public hearing? No, we didn't.
Yeah, we did.
Did? Oh,
We just did.
okay,
Close the public hearing.
just making sure.
You haven't said any opposed?
Yeah. Yes. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. Thank you. Now with that, we're going to move into council member comments. Now, I'm going to let Councilman Williams go because I know he's got a Little League game for his son.
Yeah, I'll keep it short. We've been up here as this new council for a year, and it's been a long year. But it's been challenging and rewarding and fun, and I look forward to the next year. So that's it.
Thank you. Councilwoman Sherwood.
Yes, happy 1 year anniversary. Living with LaDonna, so then there's that. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Excited about that. There's a prayer, a community prayer happening at the Harvest for Lost Souls on May 7th. That's Thursday at 6 p.m. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. We make a way. Congratulations to Beaumont on being in good standing and resulting in a clean audit. I'm excited about that. And maybe staff could speak to, I don't know what our jurisdiction is as far as Texas workforce, or if we have any standing with them or connection with them or collaboration with them on what they're doing as far as offering trucking services or whatever. I don't know if that's inside of our wheelhouse, but
I can look into it. I think we do. I'm not familiar with
okay.
what he was talking
Yeah, I
about.
just, I like to make sure that people are getting an opportunity, particularly small businesses, to be considered if they're offering a class that is in fact credentialed and meets the requirements to be considered. They should be considered. There's another great day in Beaumont. Go out and celebrate Cinco de Mayo. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Crenshaw.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. All the talk today about red tags reminds me there's a home on East Circuit that is in a work program, I believe, that has that entire neighborhood up in arms. And all this talk today about red tags, I would just like to ask that staff take a look at that work program. And maybe we could have a compliance update that things are happening there. In particular, I believe it's caused a rodent infestation for several neighboring properties. And they're very upset, the neighbors are, and understandably so. And so I would like to be able to let them know after they saw the council meeting today of all the red tag discussions that we are following up on that East Circuit home, and we will give them an update on that. So I'd appreciate that. Also, someone mentioned the Baptist, the new Baptist Behavioral Health Facility and the opioid issues that were caused by that. I had previously asked that the city attorney look into whether the funds that we have set aside from that settlement can be used for that Baptist Behavioral Hospital. And it's my understanding after the research by legal counsel, which I do appreciate you doing that, Attorney Reed, that that was in fact a viable an approved source. So after the request today, I would ask that the council look at donating $100,000 out of our settlement fund to be given to Baptist Hospital for the planning and building of that facility, in particular for their remediation and services that would be provided to those with opioid addiction. Also, happy Mother's Day coming up. I'm about to take my dad to watch Shohei Ohtani pitch tonight with the Astros game. And congrats to our new city manager. And it's great having you with us today in that role. And we're excited about the future of our city with this council and you as our city manager and all the other great job that our staff is doing. So that's all I've got, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Turner?
Thank you, Mayor. Just on that water bill, I don't know if we do have senior citizen line item where it can show the reduction, but if we can, or if it's possible, or if it's something we could do to address that, you know, I understand we do issue it, but it's just something where we can verify it just to kind of satisfy that gentleman and some of the seniors.
Yeah, so our system, as you know from previous council meetings, it is a little antiquated and it's not able to put a negative number on a bill. So you can actually see the discount that you're getting. It's input as a whole separate rate structure. That's how our system has to handle it. But the specific person that had come up, he was the same one last time, I do believe. And I did look into it, and he is on that senior citizen rate structure. Unfortunately, there's just not a way for us to explicitly show the discount as a negative amount or as a percent amount. Moving forward, whenever we get a new ERP, that is something that we might be able to do.
It couldn't be like a notation on the bill and say something like this bill includes a rate reduction of $10 for
It does.
seniors.
It says that it's a rate reduction, but with the, whenever we adopted the last rate structure that froze all aspects for senior citizens, that's not uniform anymore.
How about anyone that has got that rate applied to their bill just has a notation that says senior discount applied without the a dollar amount?
I do believe that we have made that change. If we haven't, if that hasn't come through yet, then it is underway.
Okay. So future bills, because that's one thing people say, hey, will you check my account and be sure I'm getting the senior discount? And, you know, I think it would be very helpful if the bill actually notated that so that there's no confusion. And then those that don't see the notation know to call in to ask for it.
Yes, and I will follow up on that.
Yeah, just any kind of way we can really get a solution, that'll be appreciated, you know, because he's been up here quite some time consistently. I just want to address it if possible because it's probably more than just him. The second thing with the Lovey Trucking School being denied, that's a real concern of mine, especially if it's something the city can do. If that's taking place, if it's something we can look into, I prefer we do so. And I kind of like an update to know what went on and or what can the city do or what are the steps to assist that gentleman if that's true. Thirdly, happy Mother's Day. Fourth, congratulations, Chris Boone. You know, feel good to see you up here to my right. And lastly, I'm just looking forward to, you know, possibly having a tax abatement discussion with my colleagues upcoming, just to see how people feel about them and what can we do to make sure it's beneficial for industry as well as the city. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Hilliard?
Well, I will say it's pretty awesome that Cinco de Mayo falls on Taco Tuesday, so that's a bonus. And also, Embracing Freedom is having their crawfish boil fundraiser, and it's an amazing organization that any kids that are trafficked before they would just be turned over to protective services. Now there is a net to catch them and to give them the needs and the mental health help that they can get. And so if anybody can, it's at 5980 South MLK Drive. It's a really neat organization, and they're just kind of getting off the ground, and I'm really excited about it. Also, I would like to say, you know, one of the things that you don't hear about is that Beaumont is cleaner, thanks to Kenneth. And so I've gotten a lot of phone calls for the positive, and I just wanted to give you a shout out and say thank you for what you're doing. And I got a lot of good feedback at Acorn on the lots being kept up with, and that I'm not getting as many phone calls about high grass. So I just want to say thank you for that. And Again, Chris Boone, excited to work with you. I still think we need to adjust the height size here on the council. But anyway, and a happy Mother's Day, and a big special prayer to those mothers that have lost a child. And we'll be mourning that child this time. So, let's remember them too. And that's it.
Thank you. Councilman Durio.
Yes, just tell everybody again, getting ready to start hurricane season, so let's everybody get prepared. Also, I didn't realize that they still need volunteers for the Mayor's Coalition on Violence and traffic signal at Cardinal and Fournette. Yesterday, one person was on Fournette Road headed south, and another person was on Fournette Road right at Cardinal heading towards BU. And when the one going south, his light turned green, and the other guy turned left right in front of him and said he had a green arrow. So the police didn't give either one of them a ticket. So could y'all just check that? Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right. Madam City Attorney.
So of course I have to say Happy Mother's Day to my mommies. So Happy Mother's Day, mommies. And yes, I do call my mommies mommy. But the United Way has issued or has announced their Make-A-Wish Day of Action Assist project, and there are 14 amazing organizations that you can assist with a wish this year. So I definitely encourage everyone to visit their website and to donate to those projects. There's some amazing organizations, the Onion House, Girl Scouts of America, some ways that we can positively give back to our community and make a good impact in improving our community.
Thank you. Bill Loretta.
Thank you. First, I'd like to say Happy Mother's Day to all the moms, godmoms, grandmoms, mother figures in our families. And I do want to thank John Pippins, Cesar Garcia, Mike Harris, Theron Brown, and our two resident experts, Jeff Beaver and Dr. John DeAntoni, for the hard work that they did on the wastewater treatment plant master plan. Very collaborative. Could not have put together a better dream team of city staff and consultants for this. It was quite a bit of work, and very pleased with the work product that they presented. And also there is an upcoming meeting, notices will be going out for the Bond Facilitation Committee, May the 14th at 5:30 p.m. at the Lakeside Center Multipurpose Center, Multipurpose Room. I'll get there, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to, well, first of all, I wanted to respond to Councilman Crenshaw. You asked about the bank balance in the hot fund. Our fund balance was $465,680 at fiscal year end 25. It's projected to be a little lower than that at the end of 26 per our last adopted budget, but this is a fund that that goes up and down a lot. And then I also wanted to address the audit report that we just got that was clean. And I wanted to say thank you to my staff. They've left. They've gone back to their offices. But I cannot overstate what a good job and how much they pulled together this year to get this audit done and so quick. Katrina Jones, our new controller, Angela Breeden, our senior accountant, Betty Strong, our accountant, Bailey Thompson, Janice Ridley, Amanda Hill, she's our new assistant CFO, Amy Franklin, Amy Schmidt, Dana Guest, Debbie Moe, Greg Williams, and Halima Hurston Wilson. They really all pulled together and were a fantastic team to get this done and worked with our audit team with us.
Thank you.
Just wanted to say Happy Mother's Day specifically to my mom, Renee Laney, and my mother-in-law, Leslie Ingman. They're wonderful people. And congratulations on your first day on the dais, Chris.
Just a happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Of course, it's always a sad time for me since my mom passed away, but of course, I'll visit her like I do every week and bring fresh flowers to her. And Chris, welcome to this side of the room with me and Demi and Bridget. It's going to be a fun year. What's left of it anyway, but congratulations and happy to have you over here on our side.
Mayor and council, I know it's been a long meeting, so I will be brief. I just want to express my appreciation for the confidence put in me, and I look forward to continuing to work with the council, supporting y'all and supporting moving this city forward. I think it's been a long agenda, but I think it's been a great agenda because if you look at, I'll echo what Bridget said about the audit and the tremendous work they did. But if I start going down the list, I'm going to miss somebody. But just a lot of great work by a lot of our dedicated city employees. And so this is Public Services Week, as we talked about this morning in proclamations. And so sometimes, as we can appreciate, sometimes we're blamed for everything and thanked for nothing, and that's okay, because I do believe that public service is a calling in many respects. And so just wanted to shout out to our dedicated city employees, but again, look forward to supporting them, guiding them as we move forward. But again, thank you for the confidence shown in me. I look forward to working with y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Boone. And also, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there and my wife and daughters that are mothers. Lamar softball is playing the best of 3 games this weekend for the conference championship. So they've done well, and that's the first time in many years that they've been there. The Board of Managers and BISD, the new superintendent, were all named. They're having their first special called session in 50 minutes. Boys Haven Crawfish Festival is this Saturday. And certainly welcome Mr. Boone and look forward to working with you and appreciate all the work that you've done and productive first meeting. And Mayor, May 12th, next Tuesday, we have another Mayor's Coalition Against Violence that will be at the event center, and we invite you all to be there.
Mayor, before you adjourn the meeting,
Yes.
I would like to say in my father's will, my daddy's birthday is tomorrow. Happy early birthday, Daddy. Now go do the thing.
Now we're adjourned.